Chapter 1. Cursings and Blessings. Excerpt from Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Of the many fearsome beasts and monsters that roam our land, there is none more curious or more deadly than the basilisk, known also as the king of serpents. This snake, which may reach gigantic size and live many hundreds of years, is born from a chicken's egg hatched beneath a toad. Its methods of killing are more wondrous, for aside from its deadly and venomous fangs, the basilisk has a murderous stare, and all who are fixed with the beam of its eye shall suffer instant death. Spiders flee before the basilisk, for it is their mortal enemy, and the basilisk flees only from the crowing of the rooster, which is fatal to it. A 6-year-old Naruto Uzumaki is running away from a mob of villagers because it's his birthday. But to the people of Konoha, it is the Kyuubi festival with its most promising attraction, the fox hunts. Even after 5 years, the foolish leaf villagers have not let go of their hatred for the nine-tailed fox that attacked Konoha out of the blue and was then sealed into the newborn Naruto by their beloved hero, the fourth Hokage, who died that night. The councilmen have usurped Hiruzen Sarutobi's authority many times to make the poor boy suffer and never know of his heritage and destiny. But that changes tonight. For as of this moment, the reinstated third Hokage has escaped the distractions of paperwork to go find the secret son of Minato Namikaze before the villagers kill their pariah. With his trusted Umbu behind him, the Hokage finds a cluster of villagers near the fence of the Forest of Death as they are cheering at their handiwork. That all comes to a halt when the Umbu surrounds them, and the third Hokage steps forward and gives the order, "Take these filths to Ibiki." Nothing restrained. I want to know who started this, and what they have done to Naruto Uzumaki. The Umbu restrain the many shinobi and villagers that are now protesting. Most cry that they are only doing what their hero, the fourth Hokage, had started. One cries, "It's too late. The demon brat will never see again, nor will its lying voice taunt us or deceive us with its innocent act." That hits a nerve for Sarutobi and the Umbu weasel and snake. The female Umbu wearing a snake mask uses her snakes to strike at the Chunin's nose. The poor fool wails in pain as he is taken to suffer more pain, while the Hokage picks up the wounded boy that was meant to be seen a hero. Naruto has kunai marks going vertically down each eye, his eyes covered with blood and some sort of chemical to prevent the Kyuubi's healing. A horizontal slash goes along where his throat is, showing that his vocal cords are damaged. His whole body is covered with cuts and bruises from the many beatings the villagers did to him. Sarutobi was shaking with rage at how far his village has fallen. If only Jiraiya or Tsunade were here to help, but they were not heard from in years. He would have to send another letter to the both of them to do their job as his godparents. The Hokage quickly body flickers himself to Konoha Hospital with Snake following behind. Weasel stays grounded in his spot as he saw that some of his clan members, the Uchiha, were among the ones that hurt the boy. He wondered if this is what his mother felt when her best friend died during the Kyuubi attack and was still in a state of depression and staying a housewife. Was there any hope before his father took action against the Hokage and the rest of Konoha? Meanwhile, the Kyuubi was forced to watch inside his mindscape prison as the boy suffered from the villagers since Naruto's days in the orphanage. If only he could free himself from his cage, he would destroy these monsters in human skin while taking the boy far away from being the human's weapon or plaything. If only he had the power to overcome the Sharingan of that masked Uchiha that forced him out of Naruto's mother, Kushina. Suddenly, a thought crossed the angry fox's mind. When the Shinigami sealed him within Naruto, he also placed another soul within the seal that belonged to a creature that was defeated by a young boy that seemed as special as the kid. A creature that was just as ancient and powerful as the Kyuubi himself. Since they were stuck within Naruto, its powers had little to no effect on the Biju or their container. Kyuubi knew that this would be an opportune moment to get his revenge on the Uchiha and anyone who dared threaten his kit. He trudges to a dark corner of the cage to where his roommates slept. "Hey, Scaly, wake up. I need to discuss something with you." The darkness stirs as bulges of dark green scales moves in twisting motions. A giant serpent appears, raising its head from its 70 feet long body to meet its golden gaze towards the Kyuubi's red slits. She hissed in irritation for being awakened from her peaceful rest after not having to deal with magical elitists and purges to mess with her mind. Although her caretaker was a great and powerful speaker, hopefully the child with the lightning scar and glasses would destroy that terrible progeny of the great Salazar Slytherin. What do you want? Annoying Kitsune. She hisses angrily. Our container, Naruto Uzumaki, has been beaten by these foolish humans for the last time. His eyes and vocal cords are scarred by their cruelty. I ask that you help me heal our container so that we can train him to destroy those who'd use their power to make him weak. With your death gaze, snake speech, and my chakra, he will be an unstoppable force against those that are his enemies. Like that thorn in my side and his pretender of a student, Madara Uchiha. The QB grinned at the thought. The magical queen of serpents hisses in contemplation at making a snake heir in this realm. She remembers viewing in Naruto's memories that snake Umbu watching out for the boy while also being belittled as the snake mistress. Perhaps the boy can become a summoner to these chakra-wielding snakes, while also maybe turning a mistress into a princess, and later a queen. Very well. We shall bless this child with our gifts so that he may in turn destroy our enemies. Bring respect to our names and species, and bring about a great change to these elemental nations. She hissed in reply. The QB and basilisk get to work as the two pour their red chakra and green aura into Naruto's body, planning on how they will introduce themselves to the child. Scene change. Naruto slowly woke up to find himself not near the forest of death where Hebikin lives. He concludes that he is in the hospital, from what he could feel and hear of hospital equipment beeping. His body all bandaged up like a mummy that he only had his fingertips free so that he could feel the hospital bed sheets. Naruto is happy that Gigi and Hibi were there to save him before he met his end. However, the moment was ruined when a large hand grabbed Naruto's chest, pinning him down so he couldn't get up and press the help button to alert Hokage Gigi and Hebikin. The shinobi's free hand moves up to pull off the bandages on Naruto's eyes so he can see the look in the demon brat's glassy eyes before he kills it for good. He removes his hand from the Jinchuriki's chest to pull out a special kunai that Danzo and the council gave him. With all that has happened, they had no need for a broken weapon. When the bandages are off, the Chunin gasps in surprise at seeing that the boy's new eyes. The vertical cut marks are now nearly healed, but the would-be blind eyes are now a creepy golden yellow with slit marks, like the traitor sage, Orochimaru. But the yellow colors all around his eyes except for the abyssal black slits that held no white that could be seen, giving Naruto a more bestial look. It was the last thing the Chunin saw before falling backward with a dead look in his eyes. A nurse walks in and screams in alarm at the fallen body that Sarutobi and the snake Umbu, Anko Mitarashi, come running towards Naruto's room. Before they could enter, Naruto hears a voice inside his head, telling him to cover his eyes while he wonders in bewilderment on what just happened. Naruto, cover your eyes from Gigi and Hibi. Don't let them see your eyes until we tell you to. Listening to the deep voice in his head, Naruto puts both hands on his eyes when the third Hokage and Hibi enter and see the dead body. The Hokage notices the kunai in the attacker's hands and knows that he would have words with his advisors for this. But still, what could cause a Chunin to die with a scared look on his face? Perhaps Inoichi could investigate that, but right now, Naruto was top priority. Naruto, my boy, it's Gigi. Hibi is here too. What happened? Why do you have your eyes covered? The doctor said that you are now permanently blind. Can you actually see? The Hokage questioned the boy while trying to move Naruto's hands from his eyes, only to find that the Uzumaki boy was stubbornly keeping them shut. Naruto, it's Hebikin. Please show us your eyes. If you do, I will show you my sexy face. She smirks mischievously as she removes her mask to show her brown eyes and flawless features to go with her spiky purple hair. Hiruzen rolls his eyes at Anko's flirting, but he notices that Naruto's scrunched-up face has softened. Naruto then feels a tingling feeling wash over his eyes as if another layer was placed on his eyes like contacts, but more magical. You can show your eyes now, hatchling, a feminine voice hisses in his head. Tell them if Gigi and Hibi want to learn more about your changes, bring the Yamanaka and join them in your mindscape. The other voice spoke to Naruto. Naruto opens his eyes to find that Anko had one of her snakes on his lap, that made him jump a little before speaking in a hissing sound that no human could understand. Wow. Huh. Hebikin got me good with that prank. I'm so going to get her for that. What? How is this possible? Even Lady Anko or Lord Orochimaru do not possess the gift. It is an honor to meet you, speaker. Anko's snake hissed back, making the occupants widen in alarm at this unexpected development. Wait. Hold on. Speaker? As in, I can talk to snakes and understand them now? Awesome, Databeo. Naruto clapped for joy at his new cool ninja skill. Calm yourself, speaker. There is much my mistress and the Hokage would like to know about your new eyes and skills. Can you try speaking in the human tongue? The snake asked the boy. Naruto wanted to learn more about his eyes, but he complied to what the snake was saying as Gigi and Anko looked at him in confusion and amazement at his mysterious changes. He opened his mouth to try to say how beautiful Hebikin looked, only to cough in pain as his throat hurt in trying to speak like he normally did. Anko patted his shoulder while Naruto calmed his breathing so that his throat didn't hurt anymore. He looked to the snake summon that lay on his lap as he stood up in his bed and began hissing frequently on what he needed her to say. Forgive the speaker, Hokage, and Anko-san. The damage to his vocal cords was deep that he can only now speak the noble tongue of the snakes, and nothing else. Oh, and mistress, he says you have a very pretty face, that it is, as you say, sexy. The snake summons replied with Anko blushing at Naruto's reply, while the Hokage gave a silent giggle. Naruto, do you know how this happened? Asked Sarutobi Gigi, passing a mirror to Naruto to look at his new eyes. Naruto gasps as his new eyes now showed they were a bluish turquoise snake eyes that flashed yellow when he turned the mirror to his sides. Naruto hisses to the summon as it translates for him. I do not know Gigi, but I have been hearing voices in my head. A cold shiver runs up the Hokage's spine as he hoped that the Kyuubi would not reveal itself so soon to Naruto. But what were the other voices in his head? The voices say that you must summon the Yamanaka clan head and have him take Mistress Anko and yourself, Hokage-sama, into the speaker's mind in order to find the answers. Anko-san, will you summon me again to accompany you all to the speaker's mindscape? I must return to Ryuchi Cave and inform Mandasama and the White Snake Sage of this development. The snake disappears in an exploding cloud of smoke as Sarutobi tells Anko to get Inoichi here immediately. A few minutes later, Inoichi and Anko return as Anko once again summons her snake familiar as they prepare to enter Naruto's mind. The Hokage, Anko, and Snake hold onto the Yamanaka's shoulders as he places his hand on Naruto's forehead, and they all enter Naruto's mind. Mindscape. The Hokage and his entourage travel down the dark wet hallway towards the large bars where the form of Naruto was waiting for them. Naruto had no idea that this is what his mind looked like, and he felt sad a little. The Hokage and Anko weren't doing any better, feeling guilty on how such a special boy to be put through mind-shattering experiences that made his mindscape so dark and foreboding. When they reached Naruto, the eye of the Kyuubi opened as his giant form revealed itself to the spectators. Greetings, puny humans. I am the nine-tailed fox. Kyuubi introduces himself. Wow, you are so big, Kyuubi. But if you're inside me, does that mean the villagers were right in calling me a demon? Naruto's attitude went from amazement to depression at realizing why the villagers hate him so much, not realizing he is talking normally so everyone else could understand him. The Hokage quickly went to comfort the boy and then get some answers from the Kyuubi. Naruto, you are not the Biju. You are simply the scroll that holds the kunai, not the kunai itself. I tried to give you a normal life, Naruto, but the pain of the Kyuubi's attack is not so easily forgotten or let go of by the people of Konoha. Speaking of which, why Kyuubi? Why did you attack us and letting many families be destroyed the night Naruto was born? Silence, monkey. I wanted nothing more than to leave your pitiful village after being released from my previous holder. But the man who freed me also took control of me, using the same blasted Sharingan that Madara used to force me to battle Hashirama. Although the masked man claimed to be Madara Uchiha, I know it wasn't him. Kyuubi growled in irritation while the Hokage and the entourage were stunned at learning that a rogue Uchiha was responsible for the disaster 6 years ago. You're lying. How do we know that for certain, demon? Sarutobi retorted, not fully accepting the nagging feeling inside him that it was not entirely the Biju's fault. After all, Biju are considered beasts made entirely of chakra that had no mind or heart. Yet here they are, having an intelligent conversation with the strongest of the nine-tailed beasts. QB snorted before waving one of his tails onto the watery floor to show Naruto's memory of that night. The audience, including Naruto himself, were stunned to see Naruto being the son of the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze, and a beautiful red head named Kushina Uzumaki. They watched as an orange-masked man with one eye hole showing the Sharingan used newborn Naruto as a hostage before taking Kushina away as Minato prepared to do the unthinkable to save Konoha and his child. The scene changes with Naruto on the sealed pedestal as QB is bound and about to be sealed inside Naruto, while Kushina argues with Minato against this action. Hearing his parents' final words after being stabbed by QB's claw, the memory disappears, and Naruto starts crying at finally knowing that he had loving parents and what they thought of him. Anko gave the young Uzumaki a hug with her snake summon, giving a coiled hug too. The third Hokage and Inoichi bow their heads in shame at the truth of the revelations and how low the will of fire was barely a candle of itself after what the village has done to their savior's progeny. Then, Naruto calms down from his comforting hug with Hebekin and walks on over to the QB. He is small enough that he squeezes through the large bars while Anko, Sarutobi, and Inoichi are scared on what the QB might do to the boy. Naruto looks into the QB's eyes before saying, "I should be mad at you for killing my parents that night. But you didn't want to or ask to be sealed into humans like me. I'm sorry for thinking the same way the villagers think of me. And thank you for helping me survive these past few years and giving me these new cool ninja powers." Naruto then hugs the QB's muzzle, which startles the QB and the entourage at this display of forgiveness and acceptance. QB comes out of his bewilderment and inwardly chuckles before using his tails to pull Naruto off his nose and place the boy down to talk to him. "You're welcome, kid. I may be a powerful chakra beast, but I've learned to not place the sins of the parents onto the children after what you've been through. And although I have helped your Uzumaki genes in healing from most wounds, the eyes and snake speaking are not my doing." QB then moved to the side as Naruto and the others heard something coming towards them in the darkness of the prison. Anko's snake had slithered towards Naruto and wrapped herself around his neck to see if the white snake sage spoke truly. Out of the shadows came the towering form of a giant snake that looked smaller than Manda, yet held more power and majesty. Anko had never seen such a beautiful creature. The great serpent hissed before staring at her container with everyone watching. "Greetings, child. Although your father summoned the Reaper to seal the QB away, he did not realize that the Reaper held my spirit as well. It would seem the gods deemed you needed my help on your journey in life. I am the basilisk, king, or in this case, queen of the snakes." The basilisk introduces herself. Everyone being able to see and understand her inside Naruto's mindscape were amazed at this. Naruto and the others are surprised that Naruto had not one, but two powerful beasts sealed inside him. Anko's snake, who was still coiled around Naruto, went to greet the legendary serpent. "Greetings, chiefest and greatest of the serpents. I am one of the snake summons of this realm. We have heard of your legend and have wished to bask in your grace. The leader of our summons, the white snake sage, foretold that you would come. What would you ask of us, your majesty?" "I ask that you allow this child, whom I have blessed with my eyes and our noble tongue, to sign your summons contract. He shall be instrumental in bringing your clan to greatness, along with your present summoner." The basilisk then turns to talk to Anko. "Snakeumbu, please help train my heir so that you both may surpass your hated former teacher. Only then can you reap vengeance upon him by becoming true sages under the teachings of the snake summons." Anko was stunned at that blunt remark on how to get back at Orochimaru. However, she rubs the back of her shoulder where Orochimaru's curse mark stains her body, chakra, and soul. She would not dare enter Ryuchi Cave until the cursed brand is off. The basilisk notices the woman's distress and then turns to Naruto to give him later instructions. She will help destroy the mark, once she is free from the seal with Naruto's help. "Naruto, for you to access more of the QB and myself, you must unlock the seal in order to free me from this confinement." The Hokage's eyes widen at that remark and is quick to retort. "He can't. Naruto does not hold the key to the seal. Also, If you and the QB were to be released, chaos would follow across the village. The QB rolls his eyes at the monkey's overreaction. I will stay inside the boy even when the seal is unlocked. I am not comfortable leaving until that wannabe Madara is dead and nothing remains of his or Madara's ashes. But Naruto will have full access to my chakra once he passes the Biju tests. I, on the other hand, am only a spirit. I shall require your help, Naruto, in my rebirth. But this will only be privy to Naruto and the snake summons. The basilisk hisses at the Hokage. Sarutobi grits his teeth but submits to the beast's conditions. Naruto squeezes back through the bars as the group prepares to leave the mindscape. Before Naruto exits with the others, he turns to his two tenants. See, or hear you later. But what are your names? QB sounds like a title, and the basilisk just sounds more like an animal name. The two promise to tell Naruto once they are out of his mind. He accepts that as the humans and snakes summon exit the mindscape. Back in the hospital room, the Hokage commands Anko and Inoichi to keep this strength secret from everyone. He then heads to his office where he will send a message to the Toad summons on getting the key to the QB's seal. Inoichi heads home, and Anko stays with Naruto as she talks to her future pupil on training plans. Naruto isn't hearing though. He listens as the basilisk names herself first with the nine tails following afterwards. I was named Kindra by my maker. Call me Kindra, Little Storm. She teasingly calls Naruto, who blushes at his cute nickname. And I'm Kurama. You better get stronger for all our sakes. Chapter 2, Bonds and Contracts. After a week with speaking with Kurama and Kindra, Naruto is now living in Ryuchi Cave until he can become a genin without being judged by his inner companions, and later earn the Chunin rank and gets his parents' inheritance. No matter what, the civilian council would not stop Naruto. Right now, he was staring at a little chicken egg that was being sat on by a black and orange toad. Jiraiya, who was paralyzed by one of the snake summons to not move and escape to Mount Mayaboku. His fate was sealed a few days ago when he answered the monkey summons message from Sarutobi. Flashback. Third Hokage, why have I been summoned when you could have called any other toad to send a message to Jiraiya? Asked Jiraiya. Apologies, Jiraiya, but we have an emergency. Naruto has made contact with the Biju and now knows of his lineage and his burden. We need to see the key to the seal in case there is a crack within the QB's seal. Explained Sarutobi. I doubt the boy is ready to handle exercising the QB's chakra. However, Jiraiya has instructed me that when he makes the boy his apprentice, he will summon me when he feels ready to handle the chakra and be a worthy summoner of the toads. Jiraiya replied skeptically. The third Hokage frowned at this as he had Anko and Naruto step out from the shadows with another woman who appeared to be a priestess. Unfortunately, Jiraiya has not even attempted to meet Naruto, nor fulfill his duties as the boy's godfather. For that, Naruto has been hurt by the villagers for thinking he was the QB, and he has gained help from another summons. Can you give the key to the seal to Tagarissima? And I did say I would shorten the 3 snake attendants' names from the Rise of Yuzushi's story, so Naruto can get the help he needs? His plead was met with the cynic Toad yelling in anger. Never. The Toad summons are the best summons to help the child of our previous summoner. No other summons is fit to help Naruto reach his full potential. And how do you know what Naruto's full potential is? Anko growled. Naruto was angry, but his eyes were covered by a blindfold to hide his unique dojutsu. He must be a prodigy like his father, Minato. Also, the prophecy we gave to Jiraiya is centered on you being his apprentice to make big changes to our world. Jiraiya quickly covered his mouth at revealing such sensitive information that Naruto was not ready for. Oh, you naughty, naughty toad. Tagori giggled under her sleeve to hide her growing snake fangs. The gods decreed that all animal summons must not share significant revelations bestowed upon their leaders to their contracted summoners unless given express permission by the deities or the contractors have passed the trials. Otherwise, humans will get the stupid idea to try and bend prophecies to their own desired ends. Has your current summoner passed the trials, or has even Gamamaru been given permission to share such things? Kami or her siblings have not visited the realm for some time. Only the Shinigami appeared when the foolish mortal used the Reaper Death Seal, but not to share any prophecies. How do you know about that? Jiraiya shook and prepared to poof back to mount Mayaboku, but was stopped when Tagori's neck lengthened and she bit Giratora, causing him to be paralyzed. Because I am one of the trial masters of Ryuchi Cave, foolish frog. Tagori's voice changed and her snake features began to show on her eyes, skin, and teeth. Giratora's eyes widened with fear at soon he will be eaten by the toad's hated rival. Wait, Tagoroheim. I need him alive. Naruto commanded in parcel tongue. Oh, but I haven't had toad meat for so long, and he just looks so tasty. Tagori licked her lips in hunger. Kendrasama says that she needs this toad for her to be reborn. Just take the key seal from him and give him to me. I will bring him to Ryuchi Cave with me as you, your sisters, and the rest of the residents of the snake realm can witness the birth and creation of the mighty basilisk. Without letting the pedosage finding out, Naruto informed Tagori. His answer calmed the snake priestess down as she looked forward to seeing the prophesized snake queen that Kami had shared with their white snake sage more than 100 years ago. It was only for the snake summons in answer to their prayer of becoming a great summoning clan. After rolling out Giratora's scroll belly and copying it onto another scroll, Tagori had Naruto open his mouth wide and forced him to swallow the scroll down his throat. Anko chuckled and thought of using that technique on the prisoners by thinking they are forced-fed an explosion tag or something that could go off unless they sung like a bird. The third Hokage had to keep his distance from Anko's torture dream look. Once Naruto had finished digesting the key, he and Tagori took Giratora and reverse summoned themselves back to their home, leaving the Hokage and the snake mistress to continue their work in Konoha village. Flashback end. How soon till she hatches? A little snake asked as many of the snake summons gathered around the white snake sage's shrine. Patience, hatchling. The time is soon upon us, said the white snake sage. Not soon enough. Why should we be seeing the birth of some half-breed that is hatching from a chicken? Said Manda, aggravated at no longer being considered the strongest of serpents now that a basilisk was about to be born. You watch your tongue, Manda. Although strange the birth of our next most powerful member, she is still one of us. You will be her strongest champion should the toads try to come take back the boy. Still clinging on to that prophecy that was not meant to be shared yet, refuted the master of the snake summons. Manda calmed down and grinned at the coming rematch against Gamabunta and his ilk. Suddenly, the sound of cracking was heard, and the cave went silent. No hisses could be heard from any of the snakes. Kendra's tiny head popped out of the tiny eggshell, having bluish-green colored scales and a crest of spikes atop her head like a crown of thorns. Her eyes were a bright yellow as they stared hungrily at the soon-to-be-dead Giratora. Kendra soon began to grow at an accelerating rate, thanks to the nature chakra of Ryuchi Cave working symbiotically with her inner magic, until she was as big as a young ball python, big enough to devour the toad headfirst and all. All the snakes shivered in fright and awe at her mighty gaze that blinked at her surroundings. Her death gaze being turned off since she's had nearly 1,000 years in training to shut off her powerful eyes abilities. Naruto walked up to the newborn Kendra without fear and slowly petted her crowned head and ridges along her back, while she continued to digest her first meal in this realm. Happy birthday, Kendra-chan! Everyone hissed in agreement and reverence at their newborn queen. The snakes held a celebration as a feast was prepared with lights and music playing to commemorate the birth of their new queen. Think what Ryuchi Cave looked like during the Boruto episode when they first saw it, even though this one is no genjutsu. Manda had stuffed his mouth of a large boar. A big snake like that needs more than human sacrifices to fill his belly, while other snakes had rice bowls of chicken, beef, and surprisingly spiders, which were Kendra's favorite snacks. Most likely dreaming of eating that one grown-up arachnid that was raised by the half-giant. They washed their food down with rice, sake, and water, thanks to the offerings from Manda's loose connection with Orochimaru in Rice Country, when not asking for sacrifices. The water was naturally clean thanks to their cave system that filtered out their surrounding wetlands. After eating his fill, Naruto looked at Kendra in his lap as he caressed her smooth scales, much to the reborn basilisk's delight. So Kendra-chan, what now? Are you going to start training me with the snake's help so I can be a strong ninja? Or am I going to practice with my cool new eye powers? Naruto asked excitedly. Kendra lazily raised her head to look at Naruto in the face as she pulls off his blindfold with her tail to look into his protected green filtered eyes. Your training will soon come, my little storm. But first, you and I must have a stronger connection to access more of my gifts I will grant you. You must see my life as I've seen yours, so that our bond may be deeper and stronger. For that to occur, you and I must perform a familiar bond. Naruto squinted his eyes in confusion at what Kendra had said. What's a familiar bond? He asked curiously. Kendra gave a hissing chuckle at the child's eagerness to learn. A familiar is any kind of animal or animal spirit that serves a magic-wielding witch or wizard in many ways. Whether it be spying, serving our witch or wizard, sending messages, and more. It's like the shinobi that have animal summons already in this realm. But familiars have a deeper bond to their contractor. For you to fully be bonded with me, I must bite you. My venom is the most powerful toxins ever, but when used in a bonding manner, the magic in my venom will share my thoughts and feelings as you strive to endure the pain my venom will do when it courses through your veins. Naruto shivered at having to experience more pain, even when he now is far away from the mobs that tormented him. Kendra saw his pained look that she flicked her tongue in tickling his whisker marks. After getting him to laugh, Kendra continued. Fear not, little storm. I know that you will not succumb to my venom. And once the pain passes and the bond is complete, you will be blessed with being immune to all manner of toxins and venoms, as well as having heightened senses to taste your dangerous surrounding smells that cannot be sensed by just your nose alone. Your body shall sense vibrations and heat signatures better when you're not using your eyes. If you want to learn more about your gifts of sight, you must pass the test, my little storm. I don't want to give any more spoilers. Kendra wiggled her tail as if she were wagging a finger. Naruto narrowed his eyes in determination as he gazed into his sensei's golden eyes. Still in his torn orange jumpsuit and jacket, Naruto rolled up his left sleeve to show his bare arm, signifying that he was ready. Kendra struck quickly as her jagged teeth and fangs bit into his arm. She slithered back to see her slanted oval shape of her 24 bite marks, with 4 of them being slightly bigger than the others to show that those were her upper and lower fangs. Naruto felt sluggish immediately as he fell to the floor, lying on his back as searing pain rushed through his body. His eyes became foggy before blacking out to unconsciousness. Naruto awoke in his mindscape as a green current slithered from him and led him to the Kyuubi's den. However, the current turned left as part of the wall changed to look like an ancient stone archway decorated with snakes, while the entryway was filled with light. Naruto looked at Kyuubi in concern as the towering fox simply sat in his barred den, uncaring. This is your trial, Naruto. Yours alone. I can't interfere. Don't tell me you're now thinking of chickening out now? Kurama grinned while still having his eyes closed. Naruto growled at first, before taking a deep breath to look at the gateway and entering Kendra's mindscape. After passing through, the gateway disappeared, and it turned back into the rest of the damp mind wall. Scene change. Naruto found himself on the shores of large black lake that was surrounded by a shady forest of hills and mountains all around and a lonely cliffside along one side of the lake. The young Uzumaki then spots a boat riding across the still waters with a lantern in front of it, and 4 people riding it till they reached the shore near where Naruto stood. The 4 adults came to shore without using any rowing oars, as the first 2 to touch the sandy beach were 2 men. One having a mane of red hair that matched his beard, wearing a dark red robe, gloves, and a cape with a silver sword dangling off his left side. The other was mainly bald on top with pale blonde hair flowing down from his sides and having a triangle-trimmed beard, while sporting a dark green robe that showed his pale hands. One hand having a silver ring shaped like a coiled snake with a green gem in the center, while the other seemed to be petting a tinier version of Kendra. The men then gentlemanly bring the 2 ladies to shore as they gauge their surroundings. I must say, Rowena, your vision has led us to quite the scenery. Perfect for a little feast, said the orange-wearing woman that held a golden goblet in one hand while her other pulled out a stick, which were wands from what Naruto could guess, and summoned a large blanket that held all sorts of foods for the 4 friends to eat from. Verily, Helga, this is where the warthog with warts from my dreams led me. I know for certain that this would be the sanctuary for our children and other magical children to learn and grow in their magics. Away from the persecution of commoners and their inquisitors, Rowena Ravenclaw spoke in a calm and soothing voice. Huh, let those foolish non-magic folks come. I will drive them away with my dueling skills with a wand and my blade, boasted the redhead. Calm yourself, Godric. It will take more than just our wands and your blade to secure the safety of our soon-to-be castle, said the wizened green one. Indeed, Salazar, our skills and charms and runes will make it so that our school cannot be found or disturbed in any way, said Rowena Ravenclaw. But I worry when the Muggles use deception to get children that are gifted by magic but are not among our magical families. They would return to their masters and alert them to our location. I think we should hold off on allowing those children to intermingle with ours. Salazar Slytherin continued to stroke Kendra under his sleeve to keep his paranoia in check. Salazar, if we do put off allowing gifted children to enter, then we are no better than our present persecutors. We will teach them to survive and handle the world we live in. Helga Hufflepuff lowered her goblet to scold her old friend. Rowena rubbed her diadem on her forehead before sharing a thought. Then Hogwarts will need a guardian. A little monster to frighten away those who would unworthily use magic for ill. She gave the wizened Salazar a knowing look as he thought of Kendra hidden in his sleeve. HM agreed. However, it will be the duty of my descendants to care for and call on my little princess should the case be dire. Verily, she will be an excellent obstacle along with our spells and safeguards to handle our enemies should an army march at our front door. Salazar agreed, but still having his paranoia whispering in the back of his mind. Humph. Although if something were to force the little monster to attack the innocent within our walls, my blade will have to put her down, Salazar. Basilisks may live for a long time, but time can befuddle the deeds we make present. If that were to occur, my descendants must give my sword back to the goblin makers that crafted it, Godric Gryffindor warned as his hand went to the hilt. Kendra hissed in anger at the man's faith in her abilities. It was only the soothing hisses of her caretaker that calmed her down as the four sat to where Helga made the feast. As they ate and talked, Salazar had his three friends give a magical oath that they would not disclose in memory, word, or writing, that Kendra's lair and his secrets would die with them. The three agreed to calm the growing obsession within Salazar. After eating, the four founders of Hogwarts raised their wands in the air and consecrated the land around them. Naruto was in awe as he saw time fly around him, and a tall castle formed and stood atop the cliffside. Naruto was then spirited into the castle walls as he flew past moving staircases, talking pictures, and glowing torchlights. It was then Naruto came to a girl's bathroom on the first floor. The sink magically opened to reveal a trapdoor that led down into Kendra's dark chambers below. He passed by a circular door made of metal snakes until he reached the innermost chamber of the Chamber of Secrets. He saw that Kendra became beautiful queen that did her duty in protecting the school for over 900 years. The chamber became flooded somewhat when Naruto watched a young man calling himself Tom Riddle, later Lord Voldemort, and forced Kendra to attack the kids within the castle to show bloodline purity and supremacy. Kendra was angry that a descendant of her caretaker would indulge in this madness, using a spell that targeted her mind to make her more obedient as she only thought of killing and ripping things. Naruto ached inside at seeing Kendra forced to do things that she did not want to do, that were not okay in her father's eyes. It made him think of his situation, that his supposed family member, the Godfather, had conspired with the Toads to change Naruto into Konoha's attack dog to show the Leaf's superiority, as well as Jiraiya's and the Toad's greatness. Just like Voldemort did in making Kendra a monster while promoting his superiority. All that changed when 50 years later, Naruto saw a 12-year-old boy with black hair, green eyes behind round glasses, and a distinctive lightning bolt scar on his forehead, running into the chamber to save an unconscious girl. Naruto watched in awe as the one called Harry Potter faced Kendra and the ghost of Tom Riddle with nothing but Godric's magic sword and a red bird that was immune to Kendra's eyes. A stab in the mouth was all it took to release Kendra from her tormented slavery. But then, Naruto noticed that the memory continued even after Kendra's, and as he saw Harry climb down the statue's head and slowly walk to the girl's body. letting the bloodied sword fall to the ground while he secretly held one of Kendra's fangs in his left hand. The young wizard pulls out a black book that was in the girl's arms and proceeds to stab the thing to death, causing black ink blood to spill on the floor as the ghost of Voldemort was sent to the Shinigami's realm. Suddenly, the memory disappeared, leaving only a rising Harry Potter to turn and stare directly at Naruto Uzumaki. I honestly did not expect to see you this soon, but I am in the presence of the most unpredictable ninja in the world. Naruto gawked at this before slowly pointing at the older boy wizard. How do you know who I am, Harry Potter? And how are you here? Well, when you become the bloody master of death, you find yourself in all sorts of things that defy logic, meaning that I am now part of the gods that govern our separate realms. I even still have my saving people's thing, which is sometimes such a pain. However, when your dad summoned death to seal the Biju, I saw an opportunity and answered the call because of my bloody title. Also, it's my way of apologizing to Kendra for stabbing her through her head back then. Harry simply shrugged as if this was his normality. Naruto's mind whirled at what Harry had just said at being there when his dad sealed Kurama and Kendra inside him. You were the Shinigami. Harry used his wand to change his shape to look like the purple-skinned demon with razor-sharp teeth before giving a dramatic bow. He then changed back to his regular human form to laugh at Naruto's bewilderment. It never gets old being a marauder. A master prankster, Harry commented to himself. Well, thank you, Harissima. Without you, I would never have met Kurama and Kinder-chan. Also, having cool abilities like talking to snakes and sticking it to my toad of a godfather that my destiny is beyond his control also helps. Naruto bowed respectfully. Please, call me Harry. None of that Sama nonsense. Plus, I needed a way to put those amphibians in their place. Merlin, I also had to deal with an ugly toad in my lifetime. Except she was a woman trying to hide her ugliness by being a cat person and wearing pink. Ugh, just thinking of her makes my hand ache. Harry flexes his left hand after the shudder. Well, thanks again, Harry. Would it be okay if I called you Nizan? You act like an older brother who protected me by giving me Kendra to work with Kurama. Plus now we have the same colored eyes. Only yours looks normal than mine. Harry chuckled at Naruto's comparison. He forgot that he could turn his eyes when in Shinigami mode. But having a little brother like Naruto would be a treat since he had no good relatives growing up in London. Harry walks up to Naruto and gives him a warm hug that he really needed. Naruto hugs him back at having another member to the family. Naruto and Harry pull back from each other when Naruto asks a random question. Hariniazan, what happened to that red-haired girl you saved back in the chamber? Harry let his eyes wander across limbo a bit before answering. Ginny lived, and years later after I defeated the Dark Lord that tried to kill me as a baby, we married and had children of our own. After our mortal lives expired, she still sticks with me, even when she is confined to cabin in the afterlife as I do my duties as the master of bloody death. Why? Naruto blushed in embarrassment but gave an honest answer to his brother. Because I want to know if I have a chance at finding love like you did. Do you think there is someone out there who will like me and my unique looks? Harry chuckled that Naruto was still a child. He would probably figure it out once he graduates from Ninja Academy. Little brother, I know that there is someone out there for you. In fact, you may have more than one that likes you for your eyes and for who you really are. It's your choice when it happens. I think your Hebeheim could be one of them. Trust me. But for now, your magical bond with Kendra has finished, and soon you will wake up again. See you later, Naruto. And good luck. Harry vanished as a bright light filled the space around Naruto. He woke up back in Ryuchi Cave with Kendra lying on his lap. He slowly rose up as Kendra had tears coming from her now reddish-yellow eyes. Naruto, you had me worried, little storm. After waiting for you for more than an hour, I thought my venom may have killed you. It's all right, Kendra-chan. I gotta see what you went through by putting up with that riddle baka. So did it work? Naruto asked as he and the little basilisk looked at where she had bit him. The bite mark had changed, forming into a turquoise basilisk tattoo coiled around his arm from his wrist to his shoulder. The head of the basilisk tattoo had an open mouth with a narrow golden eye with a red Uzumaki spiral swirling inside the eye. Naruto now had his own summoning tattoo to legitimize his connection with the snakes than just having his name signed in the summoning contract with Anko and Orochimaru. Awesome, Databeo. Now Manda and the others can remove that pedosage connection with them. So what are my new powers that my eyes can do, other than killing anyone on sight or petrifying them? Asked Naruto. Kendra smirked as she told him, while also remembering another ability a basilisk can have. Other than that, your basilisk eyes have the ability to see heat signatures or infrared vision, as well as see in the dark. Nothing can hide within the shadows of your gaze. Oh, I just remembered. You also have my feature of creating poison breath that can cause any living thing in the proximity to wither and die. When Naruto heard that, he mumbled a bit, remembering times when the Ichiraka duo told Naruto that he had to watch his bad breath after eating so much of their ramen. Does this mean I should wear a face mask most of the time? Chapter 3. Tests and Teams. 6 years have passed since Naruto's accident, yet no one in the academy had a clue on what had become of the orphan blonde. Except one Hinata Hyuga who had witnessed the mob attack that took his eyes and voice. She hoped she would get a chance to see him again and thank him for rescuing her when Kyumo almost abducted her. Mizuki-sensei was arrested when he tried to steal the forbidden scroll of sealings from the Hokage's vault, leaving only Irika to test these brats, half of which were Uchiha fangirls after the now rogue Umbu Itachi had killed his clan. Only Sasuke was spared Itachi's slaughter, turning the boy into a bloodthirsty avenger. Not that the fangirls cared. They were only hoping to catch the last Uchiha's eye and be chosen as a future bearer of the Uchiha legacy and fortune. Cough. Civilian Council cough. After using his signature big head jutsu to shut them up, Irika announced the start of the graduation exam, as well as the incoming student that was coming to take the exam as well. When asked who this latecomer was, the doors opened and an orange blindfold wearing Naruto entered the classroom. The 12-year-old Uzumaki now sported a sleeveless black mesh shirt under a green trench coat with silver snakes decorating it, baggy black pants with orange stripes on the sides, black sandals on his feet, and a signature green scarf wrapped around his neck to hide his neck scar. A blue snake with a white underbelly and red eyeshadow was wrapped around Naruto's scarf as she guided Naruto to the open seat next to Hinata. This was Ichiki, in Ichikishimaheim, in her snake form, not wanting Kendra to cause a panic should the human children do something foolish to their summoner. Greetings, Sensei. I hope my summoner are not too late when we arrived, said Ichiki. Not at all. In fact, I was just about to explain why Naruto wasn't in the academy when the rest of the class started. Class, this is Naruto Uzumaki. Due to an accident that damaged his eyes and voice, Naruto has been in the care of one of Konoha's legendary summons since his previous residence was condemned, but I'm sure he has been taught well under your care, Hebisama. Iruka-sensei complimented to Ichiki. Ichiki brought her tail to her snout and playfully giggled at that. Oh, you flatterer. Our new upcoming protégé has been a godsend to us. It's nice to be a recognized summoning contract again in Konoha, now that we ended our contract with that bleached scientist. The class not knowing who she was talking about except Irika. The brooding Sasuke decided to make himself known more as he walked up to Naruto and staring him in the face. Hey loser, give me your summoning contract and your jutsu. They would be better used by an elite like me. A clanless orphan is not worthy of having such powerful summons. Naruto hissed in anger at that insult, but Ichiki ignored the jab and hissed back at Naruto, much to the confusion of the other students. Sasuke scowled at being ignored and grabbed Naruto by the scarf to put the freak in his place. What's wrong? Can't talk? If you don't give me what I want, then I will have the council seize all your possessions and give them to the last member of the mighty Uchiha clan. Yeah, Sasuke-kun deserves it. Sakura shrieked along with the other fangirls. But Sasuke-san, you are not the last member of your clan, and the Sea Civilian Council has no right to step into shinobi affairs. Right, Iruka-sensei? Hinata stuttered, trying to defend Naruto. Shut up, Hyuga-hore. You are a disgrace to your clan by thinking you can use your dojutsu in other ways than just to attack your enemies. And don't even think of mentioning that traitor in front of me. Sasuke jabbed back, about to slap the Hyuga heiress away when his hand was caught by Naruto in a strong grip. That's enough, Sasuke. Hinata is correct that the Civilian Council does not have the authority it once had. The third Hokage made it so that the civilians no longer had say in shinobi and clan affairs. Naruto is from a clan the Uzumaki clan. Therefore, you cannot demand to take any of his clan's secrets. Iruka rebuked Sasuke. Then how come we never heard of the Uzumaki clan during our history lessons, Iruka-sensei? Asked Kiba Inuzuka, only for the lazy Nara in the class to answer that. Troublesome. The council felt that the Uchiha and Senju were more important since they founded the village. However, the first Hokage had helped founding Konoha when he married a member of the Uzumaki clan. Their sealing jutsus made them a force to be reckoned with. Their spiral symbol can be found on our village mark to signify our shared alliance with them. Before the clan and their country were ransacked and scattered during the Second Ninja War. Everyone stood silent while Sasuke simply huffed arrogantly and sat back down in his seat and went back to daydreaming on how to kill Itachi, thinking that Naruto's clan was still not as great as the Uchiha clan. Sakura, Ino, and the other fangirls squealed at seeing his cool behavior. Oh bother. Now back to the task at hand. It's time for the Chunin graduation exam to begin. To start, you all need to complete this written test. After that, you all must perform a henge, substitution, and finally the clone jutsu. Good luck to all of you. Iruka wished his students after passing out the papers to each row. Hinata worried that Naruto couldn't see the paper and was about to help him when he picked up his pencil and began writing down on the test. Hinata got curious and used her Byakugan to peek at what was under his blindfold. When she saw the green slit eyes, she bristled in fright at her Naruto-kun no longer having his blue eyes. Ichiki silently brought her back before she could look further and cause herself major damage to her life. Curious, aren't we? Be thankful I pulled you out before you could get yourself killed. Naruto has been given a special gift that is rarely given to humans, whispered Ichiki to Hinata. What did you do to Naruto-kun? Hinata whispered angrily at the snake while Iruka wasn't looking. We did nothing to him. It is what your village did that made him this way. Why? Does his new features offend you? Whispered Ichiki. Naruto-kun's eyes were never like that. Change them back to the kind sky blue that they were. She demanded quietly to the snake. I can't. And even if my clan or I could, it wouldn't work. The change is permanent. Does this mean that this is not the same Naruto that saved you from that Kumo abduction? The quiet words from the summon shocked the young Hyuga heiress. Not knowing what to say, she returned to work on her paper while Naruto silently sighed, having heard what Hinata said and thinking his new eyes were not to her liking. 30 minutes later, Iruka called time and picked up everyone's papers. He then roll-called the students in alphabetical order to perform the 3 jutsus and earn their Konoha plate headband. Since I don't want to take too much of everyone's time, I'm just going to talk about Naruto's and be done with it. When Naruto's name was called, he walked up to the center of the room and turned into a perfect copy of Anko Mitarashi giving a sexy pose, causing blood to drip from Iruka-sensei's nose. Impressive, and not bad looking, and it looks just like Anko. Next the substitution. Naruto, still under his Anko henge, went up in a puff of smoke when the real Anko was eating a stick of dango until she looked around to see where she was and grabbed Iruka by his shirt. Iruka, you better have a good explanation on how I got pulled from my dango break, or I'll have my snakes put something in your coffee. Iruka knew now that this was the real Anko. Calm down, Anko-san. Naruto just pulled a long-distance substitution while still under a hinge that looked just like you. A good quality of a ninja to pull a switch that fast while still disguised. Anko's eyes widened that her little blondie pulled a fast one on her. Oh, just you wait, Gaki. I'm coming for you. Once I get you as my future student. That was as far as Anko got before Naruto reappeared back in the classroom in his true form. Now, Naruto, perform the clone jutsu and you will be a certified genin of the Leaf Village. Iruka looking relieved that Anko did not get to finish her rant and scare the rest of the students that had finished their exam. Naruto just stood there for a few seconds until Iruka looked confused. Is something wrong? Naruto shook his head before speaking in a hissing voice that made some of the classmates shiver at the supposed monster their parents told them to avoid. Ichiki woke up from her little nap on his scark and went to explain things for Iruka. Naruto-kun can't speak the normal way he used to. Thankfully, we snake summons can understand and translate for him, until our scouts can get a message to the slug summons at Shikatsu Forest. Their summoner can fix his voice so he can speak to both his human companions and still speak our noble tongue. Irika now understands why Naruto made those sounds. Hopefully Tsunade Senju can help the boy. He said that because he has so much chakra in his body, he wondered if it was okay to use another form of clone jutsu that is more advanced that can work with Naruto's chakra reserves. Irika's eyes widened at this new information and smiled before nodding his head to the young boy. I don't see why not. A clone is a clone. Plus, there are many forms of the clone jutsu used throughout the other hidden villages that using an alternative form shouldn't make a difference. So long as it can be done. Show me what you can do, Naruto. Naruto smiled before making a cross-hand sign with his fingers and did the shadow clone jutsu, making sure to limit it down to 10 without freaking the rest of the class on how many more he could create. The shocked sensei regained his bearings and inspected the clones that Naruto had made before giving his final verdict. Amazing. The shadow clone jutsu is not an easy jutsu to master. But considering your condition, Naruto, it suits you just fine. Congratulations. You have passed the Chunin exams, Naruto. Irika proudly declared and was about to hand Naruto his headband when Naruto raised his hand to stop him. Although my summoner is happy that he passed Iruka Sensei, Naruto wishes to wear a headband that was once worn by his late mother. The third Hokage had given him a memento of his Uzumaki mother in order to remember her by and show that he would become a great ninja when he passed the tests. Ichiki then went under Naruto's scarf and pulled out a refurbished Uzumaki headband plate attached to a red ribbon, as red as an Uzumaki's red hair. Irika frowned, knowing that Naruto may still have some mixed feelings on wearing the symbol of the village that tormented his early life. But he accepted Naruto that he was not the Kyuubi that he kept sealed in his body. Irika smiled and allowed Naruto to use Kushina's home headband. Naruto pulled off his orange blindfold, while keeping his eyes closed so no one could see, and replaced it with his newly designated eye cover that now showed that Naruto was a ninja for his village and for his family. He had help from the snakes in creating a seal that allowed Naruto to see through the metal plate while continue using his eye's unique abilities. After grading the written tests and letting class exit the classroom, Irika watched as Naruto and the rest of his students that graduated leave to come back next week for team placements. Irika hoped that for Naruto's sake and for Konoha as a whole, they move past their misgivings for the young Uzumaki and see him for the good person and hero he really is. Scene change 1 week later. Team 7, led by Kakashi Hitaki, will be Sakura Haruna, Sasuke Uchiha, and Ami. Irika announces to the class. Sasuke simply huffs while Sakura and Ami are having a stare-off who is the better kunoichi on the team. Team 8, led by Kurenai Yuhi, will be Kiba Inuzuka, Hinata Hyuga, and Shino Abure. Kiba and his puppy companion howl in joy as they are now sticking with Hinata. Hinata was silent as Shino when their female kunoichi Jounin leader had them leave the classroom. After the newly formed Team 8 left, Irika was about to announce Team 9 when something crashed through the window and landed in front of Sensei's desk. The smoke cleared to show a promoted Jounin Anko in all her sexy glory with a banner that said, "The incredible sexy and not so single anymore. Anko Mitarashi." "All right, where's my brat? It's time to begin Anko boot camp," announced Anko. Naruto simply smiled and had a scoreboard within 7.9 score. Anko stumbled at seeing that, having a depressing cloud overhead which she shook off and glared at her student. "I worked really hard on that intro. How could it have been better?" "Anko-san, you're early. I was just about to announce your Team 9 consisting so far only Naruto Uzumaki," said Iruka Sensei. "Not now, Irika. Answer me, Naruto." Which, to the surprise of everyone, Naruto did answer. His Fuinjutsu has been improving that he now wears a paper seal on his neck which acts like a speaker. Still waiting for the slug sage to answer her summons and fix Naruto's voice if possible. "Your intro could have been better if you had summoned a giant snake in front of the rest of the class, and then doing a cool sexy pose." His voice sounded like a recording, but still loud enough to be heard, even from under his scarf. However, Sasuke picked the time now to throw a fit that a sensei gets to only teach the loser and not him. "I am an elite. I demand you train me instead of the loser, wench." His reply was Anko throwing a kunai that scraped Sasuke's cheek and her appearing behind in a headlock. "Listen well, monkey see, monkey do. You already have a sensei that knows how to get you to activate your eye powers. I don't. so I am teaching Naruto. So why don't you be a good boy and sit your quacking butt down? Anko then appeared next to Naruto and body flickered away in a swirl of fire, her banner going up in a puff of smoke and vanishing, leaving Irika to continue announcing the other teams while Team 7 waited for their sensei to show up. Scene change, Forest of Death Tower, Anko's home. Anko and Naruto were now in her bedroom, where she tackled him with a hug as they fell onto Anko's bed. Hooray, Naruto-kun! We are now an official team. Naruto's face was blushing at the closeness Anko was giving him, but he liked it. After hugging her back and staying that way for several minutes, Naruto got up and had Anko let him go so they could talk and learn more about each other, as teacher and student, of course. But we are not a full team, Anko. We need 2 more ninjas to complete our team so I can pass the Chunin exams. Those old councilmen are not going to make it easy for the both of us. Even with Gigi's help. Do you know of anyone that could be a potential addition to Team 9? Asked Naruto. I may know one kunoichi in mind that my friend Kurenai tried to teach, but had chickened out. We'll head to the Kurama clan's compound tomorrow to see if she is a good candidate. Hear that, Kurama? There's a ninja clan that has your name too. Naruto mentally commented to the QB. His answer was a snort to being compared to a single clan. But first, we need to introduce ourselves. I rarely got to see you during your stay with the snakes in Ryuchi Cave, so I'll go first. My name is Anko Mitarashi. My likes are Naruto-kun, Dango, and the snake summons. My dislikes are a certain white snake, curse marks, spoiled brats, and egotistical politicians. My skills are in snake jutsu, interrogation, fire ninjutsu, snake taijutsu, and soon sage arts. My dreams are to become a true snake sage like you are also training to be, and to have a big family with you, Naruto-kun. Naruto's lower face was as red as his mom's headband. Anko snickered as she finally got him back twice now, for his Chunin tests and his not high enough score pranks. Well, I am Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. But we won't tell anyone my father's name until I become a Chunin. My likes are Anko-kan, Kindra-chan, Kurama-san, the snake summons, ramen, the Ichiraku family, and Hokage Gigi. My dislikes are Uchihas, except for Weasel and Mikoto before she died, Konoha villagers that see me as the QB and not myself, and those who see Anko-kan as a slut and a bad apple like Pedo Sage, Toads and the Toad Sage, and hypocrites. My skills are in Fuin Jutsu, Kenjutsu, Snake Jutsu, Wind and Water Ninjutsu, and finally Snake and Fox Taijutsu. I still have some ways to go before I can learn sage arts. My dream is to become a worthy sage for the snake summons and Kinder-chan, and have a big family with you Anko-kan and others who'll like me for who I am. Anko was happy for Naruto's thoughts on her, while somewhat miffed that he'd get more girls to love him. Oh, does Naruto think I am not enough women for him to handle? Anko pulled his arm into her bountiful bosom with Naruto, thinking quickly on how to explain. No, Anko-kan. It's just that since I am the last of 2 clans, I will be required to have more women in our lives. But you are my #1 sexy snake, and no one is going to take that spot from you, or take you away from me. His answer had Anko smile in victory at that remark and hugged him again. Thank you, Naruto-kun. It's nice to know that you are one of the few people that see me more than what others see me as. Are you still planning on figuring a way to remove my curse mark? She shivers in anticipation of Naruto's answer. Yes. Kindra-chan has helped me create a jutsu where I will purify someone with demonic/cursed taint inside them. It's a venom that doesn't poison but purifies the body. But I need to test it on someone before I can be assured that I can remove the curse mark off you without debilitating you in any way. Anko was happy to learn that there was a chance for her to be washed of Orochimaru's taint. Maybe with the rumors of the Kurama clan heiress having demonic taint in her, they can know for certain if the jutsu works or not. Well, in celebration of our newly formed Team 9, we're going to have a date together. Anko smiled before going into her wardrobe to see what outfit Naruto would enjoy the most. Naruto simply stayed on Anko's bed and smiled that life was going to get better. He just hoped that his cousin, Tsunade, will come and try fixing what the villagers broke. He still loved speaking parcel tongue, but he missed using his other native tongue. Scene change, some hotel room. Lady Tsunade was getting annoyed at these attempts Orochimaru was sending his snakes to send her a message. Only this time, the snakes went to Shizune without her looking. When she read the note, Shizune had her mentor sit on the sofa and try to explain some new developments. Lady Tsunade, the snake summons are no longer contracted with your teammate, Orochimaru. The note explains that they are now the summons of Anko Mitarashi and one Naruto Uzumaki. Tsunade was up and alert when that name was said. What are you talking about, Shizune? Naruto is dead. Jiraiya showed me his burnt body when the sealing of the QB failed. Tsunade reminded Shizune when she remembered running to Konoha when she heard the QB somehow escaped Kushina. According to this note, Naruto is alive and houses the QB inside of him while also being bonded to a powerful snake. It says that he has been abused and tortured since he was 6, until he was kept hidden from Konoha for 6 years. His eyes have changed, and his vocal cords were badly damaged that he can no longer speak normally, said Shizune. That got Tsunade angry. How dare her toad of a teammate lie to her and make her leave in such a depressed state, leaving her godchild against a pack of wolves. She would beat the answers out of Jiraiya next time she saw him. But Kushina's son needed help. Perhaps now she can get over her fear of blood and make up for her lost time with her godson. Shizune, pack up. We are heading back to Konoha, Tsunade commanded as the two got work. Chapter 4. Cleansings and Meetings. Naruto and Anko had just finished their morning exercises together after having a wonderful date last night. Now they are walking up to the Kurama clan's compound with a note from the third Hokage, giving them permission to enter and try to help their heiress. But Naruto could sense the negative intent from most of the Kurama clan members as they neared the Kurama manor. Halt. We've specific orders to prevent anyone from meeting our heiress, Yakumo Kurama, the guard stated to the two. Anko handed them the Hokage's note to them. The Hokage outranks your orders and has asked us to see if we can help your princess with her condition. So let us pass. The guards looked over the orders of the Hokage to see if they were legit. They then see the Hiruzen Sarutobi seal on the bottom of the paper. Nodding in acceptance, they allow Anko and her student to enter. One of guards then heads to speak with the elder of the Kurama clan, Unkai Kurama. Naruto and his sensei enter the compound as they walk into the heiress room. They find the room filled with paintings, all drawn and painted by one talented artist, Yakumo Kurama. Most of the artwork depicted Konoha landscapes and Yakumo's ex-sensei, Kurinai. All of them bleak and showing how morbid and resentful the artist was feeling inside herself. Her current work was showing a Naruto and Anko's looks and expressions in detail when they just entered. However, it also depicts Anko having a white wispy snake with Orochimaru's eye coiled around her in restraint, while Naruto had a wispy green serpent that looked similar to Kendra the basilisk with her crown of horns and glowing gold eyes. The snake was coiled in a protective and comforting embrace around the Uzumaki, while also having a red tinge surrounding Naruto with 9 fox-like tails behind him. Whistle, wow princess, you sure know how to paint. You even got my former sensei's eyes right. Anko complimented. The brown-haired princess puts down her brushes and paints as she stares blankly at the duo with her light brown eyes. Why are you here? Have you come to check on my seal that Kurenai Sensei made, or is the third Hokage getting worried about how potential a threat I may be? She asks. Honestly, we were hoping you would help us try an experiment of sorts. Naruto spoke up. What's wrong with your voice, and why are both your eyes covered? Are you blind? Asked Yakumo, causing Naruto to go to the corner with a depressed cloud drizzling over his head. Oh, don't mind my cute student. He suffered some casualties that scarred his voice box and his eyes. Thankfully, he got a new pair of eyes, but they are quite special that the Hokage made it a clan secret. Naruto is a prodigy when it comes to Fuinjutsu that he created a voice box for himself until the right healer can fix it. He also used sealing on his blindfold so he can still see, while protecting others from looking directly into his eyes. Anko explained to Yakumo while dragging Naruto out of his corner. Oh, I'm sorry for being so insensitive. So does this mean you are going to strengthen my seal Kurenai Sensei put on me? Yakumo spat the name of her former sensei to show how much she loathed her. No, as Naruto-kun was about to explain, he has developed a technique that can purify someone with demonic or cursed taints. If our plan works, it can help in removing the black mark that's ostracized you, just as this curse mark has branded a bad reputation for me and my summons. Anko lifts her collar and shows Yakumo the tattooed seal on the back of her shoulder. Yakumo gasps at this and is curious at how this kunoichi still pressed forward to become a sensei. However, Yakumo's body was still too weak to keep up with the training that she tried to do in the past. But it also made her wonder if Naruto was also feared by others for his eyes or something. "Why would you do this? Why me?" she asks, looking at Naruto. "Because I too know what it's like to be feared for something you personally had no control over. I am hated by most of the village because I have sealed within me a demon with 9 tails that is the source of the Konoha's grief. Unfortunately, few people see me as a misunderstood human, when everyone else sees the QB I hold. So that in turn labels me a monster in human skin. But if this jutsu works, both you and my sensei can be free, and you can join Team 9 to become the next Jinjutsu specialist that we've heard you wish to master and become a kunoichi. I am making strides by having accepted QB within me and am helping Anko get out of Orochimaru's shadow. Will you allow us to help you in getting out of the shadows of your clan and your former sensei that let their fears get the better of them?" Naruto offers his hand to Yakumo as she stares and contemplates on what he said. Could she accept these strangers? Could she have a real friend and not just an angry Ito nagging at her thoughts? Is this worth the risk? Yakumo decides to take a leap of faith as she takes Naruto's hand as he engulfs her in a warm, heartfelt hug. Yakumo began crying tears of sadness, confusion, and joy at feeling like how her mom and dad took care of her before they died. She accepted Naruto's brotherly affection as she too hugs back, with Anko hugging them both before they all split apart. "All right, enough cuddling. We can do that later after you get my hickey off and get this dainty princess up to shape without breaking her bones." Anko's phrasing caused the two youngsters to blush before they all got ready to perform the jutsu. "Yakumo-heim, if you would please sit in your chair while Anko keeps a hold of you when your inner demon begins fighting the purifying venom. I will first loosen the seal that was placed on you before I administer the cure. We don't want the seal to interfere with the procedure," Naruto explains as he looks at Yakumo's seal, which was hidden beneath her hair on the backside of her neck. After loosening the seal, Yakumo holds tight to Anko's arms as Anko is facing the little princess. Naruto goes through several hand signs before his teeth turn into snake fangs as he bites Yakumo lightly on her neck, pumping the non-killing venom that Kindra had given him as he states the jutsu, secret technique, Sacred Royal Venom Jutsu. Yakumo squirms as the venom creates white veins to form on her body before it reaches her head as Anko holds her tight, with Naruto pulling out his kunai. Yakumo cries in agony before feeling the seal disintegrates. After the seal is destroyed and no trace was left of it, a shadowy substance surrounds Yakumo before leaping out of her body as it takes the form of a demonic-looking Yakumo with sharp teeth, brown skin, and long horizontal horns as it gazed at Naruto angrily for removing itself from its host. "How dare you? I was the only one keeping her alive while her uncle and clan plotted to assassinate her for killing her parents when her powers overreacted from her bottled-up emotions that exploded on that day the clan compound burst into flames. I will kill you, brat." Ito then charges at Naruto. Naruto decides to let Kurama put this demon in its place. Naruto allows the Bijuu's red chakra to swirl around him, and the face of the Kyuubi takes shape above Naruto as his 9 wispy tails flapped behind him. Ito was shaking in fear at now understanding that this boy was the Jinchuriki to the most powerful of the 9 Bijuu. "You think yourself a powerful demon? Pathetic." Kurama roars at Ito, who is now groveling to the floor, at the mercy of the Kyuubi and Naruto before her. However, Yakumo stops the Kyuubi and Naruto from eradicating Ito on the spot as she has Ito look her in the eyes. They stare at one another for a moment until Yakumo decides to say a few words. "You may have protected me from my uncle and clan, but you refuse to let others help me like Naruto-Ani and Anko have done. Sorry, but I don't need you anymore." Yakumo then jabs Naruto's kunai. She swiped from him and jabbed it into Ito's temple. "I was useful to you." Ito's final words before her face cracked to show a malevolent black and purple chakra face with red eyes before it wailed and vanished from the mortal realm, no longer able to haunt Yakumo ever again. The Kurama princess' strength finally gave away as her weak body collapsed to the ground, but thankfully Anko and Naruto were there to catch her as they smiled at her while carrying her out of the compound. Naruto summoned a shadow clone to seal away Yakumo's art supplies, and her stored kunoichi gear she kept so that they could move her stuff to Naruto's place. But Unkai and the Kurama clan had a surprise waiting for them outside. Naruto had Anko piggyback Yakumo when he sensed the increase of negative intent outside, as he gave a hidden signal to let him prepare for an ambush. When they exited the compound, Anko quirked an eyebrow as Naruto-kun was right with Unkai surrounding them. Things were about to get interesting. Unkai Kurama, what is this? The third Hokage gave permission for us to. This is no longer Konoha's affair. This is a private clan affair that the Hokage has no jurisdiction over. We shall eliminate our clan stain that has been among us for far too long. Yakumo's uncle proclaimed with Yakumo shrinking behind Anko's back. That wasn't her fault. Her Ito demon is gone. My student's experiment jutsu worked. Also, she is your heiress to your clan, Unkai. Would you dishonor the memory of your brother and sister by killing your niece? The one niece that can bring the Kurama clan back to glory? Anko retorted back to the clan head. I do this for the good of my clan. If I must sacrifice the last remnant of my family in order for my clan to survive, then I shall. I can make a new clan heir or heiress by arranging a marriage with myself and that failure of a teacher, but an excellent Jinjutsu mistress. Making Anko grit her teeth that Yakumo had to die in her uncle's eyes, while Kurenai would be made into the Kurama clan's breeding mare. Yakumo had mixed feelings about Kurenai, but she didn't want her to be made into the clan's breeding stock. Naruto was not amused, so he decided now was the time to take the cover off. Ankikan, Yakumoi Mudo, don't interfere. I'll handle this. Whatever happens, don't look. Narakin, are you sure? Asked Anko. Naruto simply nodded his head as he stepped forward as Unkai and his loyal followers prepared to blast the Jinchuriki with a fire jutsu before trapping him in a powerful Jinjutsu, so they could target Anko, who was protecting Yakumo back inside the Kurama compound. Naruto simply dodged the fireball jutsus aimed all around him, but one of them destroyed his voice box seal. And just when Unkai prepped his strongest Jinjutsu with the clan charging forward to immobilize the demon brat before going after their former heiress, Naruto removed his mother's headband and opened his yellow basilisk eyes. Scene change. Hokage Tower. What happened? Sarutobi asked again, feeling another headache from paperwork and the council meeting that will be making a fuss of this. Naruto hisses his answers with Ichiki being his interpreter again. Yakumo is standing with a walking stick with Anko there to support her in the Hokage's office. The cleansing jutsu was a success, with Yakumo Kurama now making a slow recovery that her bones and muscles are now getting stronger day by day. Perhaps with a more expert healer, she could be fit to join Team 9 once she is ready. However, the Kurama clan had led the rest of the clan to kill us and later arrange a meeting with the council to have Kurenai breed the next line of the Kurama clan. I had to reveal my dojutsu to put an end to present and future threats. Unkai and all the Kurama clan are dead, except Yakumo, whom I wish to take under the protection of the Uzumaki clan until Yakumo finds a worthy man to bring back the Kurama clan. But during the massacre under my deathly gaze that made me immune to their Jinjutsu, I found a masked shinobi petrified by my eyes. His blank mask protected him from taking the full brunt of my powerful dojutsu. Naruto summons a giant snake that had imprisoned the petrified root agent in its coils. The blank mask from Danzo's supposedly terminated organization, the third Hokage clearly recognized. He'd hoped his old friend would not go behind his back, but he knew that the old warhawk was stuck in his ways, still trying to get Naruto to become an emotionless weapon for Konoha. I see. That shinobi is from a disbanded group created by Danzo to protect Konoha from the shadows. However, the more death counts for the success of their missions made me decide that the root program could not protect Konoha or the will of fire, but put more gas on the flames of hatred by creating more enemies and decreasing our numbers. Hiruzen explained to them. Why can't that old buzzard just leave things well enough alone? Anko sighed at this. Don't worry, since you only petrified the root agent, we now have a living witness that can be unpetrified with the help of our returned healer and her apprentice. The third Hokage has them turn to the door as two women enter the office. Anko is shocked to see the famed slug sage return with Shizune and Taunton there as well. Naruto and Yakumo did not understand, which is why the last member of the Kurama clan spoke up. Excuse me, but who are you two? I am Tsunade Senju. This is my apprentice Shizune, and our pig friend is Taunton. We are the best medical nin in Konoha and the entire elemental nations. I can have Shizune work with you, Yakumokin. And as the last member of the Senju clan and the head of it, I agree with Naruto Uzumaki in taking custody of Eris if the Kurama clan until she is of age to pick her man she wishes to be with. Tsunade puts in her 2 cents for Yakumo to have Naruto and Anko take care of her. After having Sarutobi Sensei explain to her when she arrived on what has happened to her godson, she was lied about being dead by her perverted team member who still hadn't returned from his spy network. Ichiki hisses when Tsunade gets too close to Naruto. Be at ease, Snake Summon. I merely want to get to know my godson, who Jiraiya lied to me by saying he had died when he was a baby. I mean to make it up to him by healing his vocal cords so he can speak normally, as well as keep using his snake language that makes him special for your summons. I also want to get to know him better and maybe even be accepted as part of his precious people, with Shizune and Taunton also joining. Will you give me the chance, Naruto? She asks solemnly. Naruto is still as a statue when she asks that question, having to swallow all that she said to know that she truly cares for him, but was tricked by the stupid toads and his so-called godfather. The answer came when he surprisingly hugs Tsunade, his head underneath her big, healthy bosom as he nods fervently while letting his tears stain his headband/blindfold and Tsunade's kimono. Tsunade hugs back, letting her love envelop the godson she was forced to abandon unknowingly. But now things would be different for the son of her cousin Kushina. Hey now, where's my hug, fiancé? You still have to get this hickey off me to mark me properly as part of your family, Naruto-kun. Anko jealously staring at Naruto hugging Lady Tsunade. Hold on. What do you mean, fiancé? Sensei, did you neglect to tell me my godson is engaged? Tsunade stares grimly at Sarutobi, who hid his face under his hat. Naruto hisses to ease the situation with Ichiki giggling at the drama present. Naruto-kun will explain it to you, Granny. But first he wishes to have a successful operation to speak clearly about the Uzumaki and Namikaze clan's restoration. After that he plans to use the sacred royal venom jutsu to remove Orochimaru's curse mark on Anko. Tsunade is irked by her godson's nickname of her, but she wants to hear him speak again. While also finish looking after her patient she picked up while passing in sea country after dealing with a mad scientist that Orochimaru abandoned. Ichiki, however, wishes to say something before they all leave the Hokage's office. Ichiki slithers to the floor as she uses her tail to summon a gift Kendrasama and the snake summons helped create for their prodigy. Naruto-kun, Kendrasama, and the snake summons have one more thing to give you. This was fashioned from the queen's outgrown fangs and chakra metal, with the sheath made from the wood of a kodama, a in-spirit tree snake. This will now serve as your sign as the heir to the snake summons. Soon you'll become the king of snakes, but after you pass the sage trials and have completed your training. His name is the Oroki Kodama, the great snake hidden in the trees. He will be your tool and protector while Anko shall earn the Kusanagi after she surpasses Orochimaru. Naruto fingers his new katana from Kindra and the snake summons. It looks like a regular katana with a green-wrapped handle, but the round guard is a coiled silver snake with topaz eyes and its head touching the base of the sword on both sides, the sheath having been polished green by basilisk venom. Thank you for the gift, Ichiki-chan. Tell Kinder-chan I love the gift you and the summons made for me. But how is she doing? Is Manda still trying to show he is a worthy mate for her? Or is he still competing with Garaga to show who is the best great snake to slither by the queen of all serpent kind? Naruto hisses privately to Ichiki. Ichiki giggles before answering. Unfortunately, Manda is still trying to prove that he is top snake next to the white snake sage and Kendrasama. It's quite entertaining to watch Kendrasama egging Garaga to try to accept you Naruto-kun and Anko-kan, to show not all humans are bad and betray us like his previous summon did, while also brushing Manda off by having Garaga fight Manda in a stalemate as she referees the two. Naruto laughed at this before dismissing his prankster snake friend while having Tsunade lead him to the hospital wing, where Shizune already had taken Yakumo there to take care of her along with Shizune's and Tsunade's other patient, Isaribi. Isaribi talked with Yakumo as Shizune got her settled in and the two became friends. Yakumo discussed her lover for Jinjutsu and art, while Isaribi, with her black eyes and violet hair, showing more life after having been taken in by the slug sage and her apprentice, shared her love for swimming and water jutsus. Anko was eyeing the new girl and smiled as an idea popped in her head. When Naruto walked by, Isaribi stopped talking with Yakumo to stare at Naruto's mysterious hidden face. Anko surprised Naruto by taking his blindfold off to show the girls his eyes. Naruto quickly puts on his protective lenses, so now his eyes appear to be green while being safe for everyone to look at him. Tsunade was startled at seeing eyes like her slithering exteamate, but these held more warmth and power that Orochimaru never held in his. Yakumo was surprised to see what Naruto's eyes looked like, although wondering why they are not gold like the ones she painted. Isaribi was in awe at the beautiful green eyes that seemed to sparkle to her, that she couldn't help but whisper in admiration. Pretty. Naruto was surprised that another girl liked his eyes and blushed. He hid his face while having his right hand try to grab his blindfold from Anko's high reach. Why are his eyes like that? Aren't they a different color? Asked Yakumo. Oh, my cute student has been gifted with special eyes from a queen snake that the snake summons revere. They are so powerful that they can kill a man on sight if they look directly into them. However, Naruto was given special snake eye lenses that help him when he doesn't want to use his powers. The lenses are the color of his former blue eyes, which combined with the shining yellow makes the pretty green that you did just see. Anko explains. Then why does he wear a blindfold? Asked Isaribi. He's very shy and doesn't want to be labeled a bigger freak more than he already is. Isaribi understands and decides to show Naruto her other form. She taps on his shoulder before she shyly shows the results of her experiments, which gives her green fish-like scales around her body, and her hair replaced by a webbed frill crest adorned her head. Naruto is speechless at seeing this girl being different like he, Anko, and Yakumo. I understand what it's like to be different, but I am coming to terms that now it is a part of me. With Tsunadesima's help and Shizuna-senpai, I will soon be able to change at will without feeling so much pain. What do you think? She asks Naruto, who is quiet before answering with a hiss. Isaribi is confused until Anko butts in. It means he thinks you look great fish sticks. Hey, since you're looking to practice and master your water style and your created bloodline, do you wish to join Team 9 with me, Anna Pastel, and Mr. Snake King? It will make us a full team and you get to spend more time with your new friends, your awesome, strong, sexy sensei, and my hubby. Anko goaded while Naruto was rolling his snake eyes. Yakumo blushed as she thought of getting closer to Naruto. Tsunade smiled at knowing what Anko was thinking of doing, which would work, with her being able to keep an eye on her godson, while also making sure Anko does not go crazy with her harem scheme. Shizune was happy for these misfits in finding each other and will work together to become stronger for one another. Scene change. Somewhere in Rice Country, a mole-faced man with a kabuki outfit and having a long white mane of hair was peeking into a bathhouse for his Iko research. Taking a short break from his spy network after learning that Orochimaru and the Akatsuki were soon making their move once the Chunin exams start in Konoha in the future. Yep, this was the infamous Toad Sage Jiraiya. He was interrupted from his snooping when a puff of smoke blocked his view and Fugasu, the elder toad of MT Miyaboku, stood atop his head. The short toad with hair slapped Jiraiya down to the ground, startling the men and women in the bathhouse. Jiraiya quickly hid himself in a makeshift bush before speaking to his contracted summon. Fuga-sensei, what are you doing here? I was almost at the best part of my research. Jiraiya spoke with a hint of anger at not seeing the goodies. Save your smut writing for later, Jiraiya boy. Something's happened at MT Miyaboku. Giratora hasn't been seen on years, and we still haven't found a trace of him. Also, the prophecy has changed. Fugasaku explained to their disciple and summoner. Jiraiya was now on high alert at hearing this. How could it have changed? Naruto is still in Konoha with Hiruzen-sensei. He should be ready to learn from the gallant Jiraiya when I return to give sensei my reports on Orochimaru and the Akatsuki. Have you checked your mail, Jiraiya boy? Fugasaku slaps his webbed hand as a huge pile of scrolls the size of Jiraiya fumbles into the world with the most recent letter in the Toad Elder's hands. I kinda lost track. But I'm pretty sure Naruto is fine under Konoha's protection, being a part of Kakashi's team. Jiraiya waves off. According to this, Jiraiya boy, young Naruto has been hurt and scarred by the villagers. And this appears to not be the only time it seems the people Minato love to show their love by trying to kill the secret son of the Hokage. And this was more than 6 years ago. What if the child of prophecy is too weak to fulfill his destiny that he takes another route? Jiraiya becomes stiff when hearing this that he reads how the godson he neglected might not be able to see or speak to learn from him. How can he teach a boy that has become blind and mute because Konoha wanted their fresh pounds of meat on the Kyuubi? Jiraiya now is in panic as he rushes to Konoha's direction and hopes that it is not too late, that the Toad's prophecy can still happen, not realizing that he is about to open a large can of worms that he worked really hard to hide and keep shut for so long. Chapter 5. Opening the Can of Worms. Naruto is happy. It's been 6 weeks since Tsunade fixed his vocal cords. Anko is now curse mark free, and she has been preparing the full shinobi squad of Team 9 to compete in the Chunin exams in the coming days. He enjoyed spending time with his little adopted sister Yakumo and new girlfriend Isaribi. Although he made sure to go on dates with Anko so she wouldn't feel left out and so she could have her personal Naruto time. But nothing too extreme until becoming a Chunin. However, there were some problems with Team 9 being considered a legitimate squad by some of the other Konoha shinobi. Mainly Kurenai, who still thought Yakumo was not fit to be a shinobi from her past experiences with the Kurama heiress. That led Anko having to fight her old friend to defend her student that she came to think of as her little sister. Now the snake mistress was barely speaking to the Jinjutsu mistress until Kurenai apologizes to Yakumo and the rest of Team 9 for her disrespect. Still hasn't happened yet. Anyway, Naruto has gotten better with his jutsus, one of his father's signature jutsus, sealing arts, experimenting with Kendra's familiar connection, team synchronizing, and wielding his katana that Kendra and the snake summons had gifted him with Anko's other good friend Yugao to help him in Kenjutsu. Creating over 100 shadow clones can really boost your ninja training, which is why he also taught it to Isaribi and Yakumo. Although the two couldn't pull off as many as the Uzumaki can. Once his team completes the Chunin exams, he will finally get his Uzumaki/Namikaze inheritance and live in his parents' compound that still is locked and sealed up. Don't get him wrong. Living with Anko, Isaribi, and Yakumo in the Tower of the Forest of Death has its ups and downs, but Naruto is eager to have him and his loved ones live somewhere that is more safe than accidentally wandering into a forest filled with giant animals and insects that can eat a Chunin or some distracted Chunin. Now Naruto, his team, and Granny Tsunade are eating at Ichiraku Ramen with Naruto having his special Naruto bowl. He had just finished his second bowl when Yu-Gi-Oh! Sensei appeared behind them with her Umbu cat mask on. Official Hokage or council business. Naruto-san, the council requests your presence in the council room, said Anko. Is there something wrong? Asks Naruto. I cannot say, only that they request your presence. Hold on, I may be the only living member of the Senju clan, but I was not informed that the council was meeting today. Who's leading this council? It certainly isn't Sarutobi Sensei, Tsunade pointed out. I was told by the council elders to request Naruto-san. Yugao knew that Tsunade was not letting her godson go in unprepared. Those old buzzards. Fine, Naruto, let's finish our meal and head up to Hokage Tower. Anko, take Yakumo and Isaribi to your place until we come back. I don't want Danzo to try anything funny while we're there. Tsunade then quickly finished her sake as Naruto handed his last bowl to Ayum and then put his eye cover back on. He only shows his eyes to those who are precious to him and accept his new look, but also to scare those who really tick him off with his negative sensory. Just not to the point of letting his basilisk stare petrify or kill them, unless necessary. He does not fully rely on his eyes to do the fighting for him, like one certain Uchiha, who got lucky in unlocking his Sharingan during Team 7's mission in Wave. Do you think I should have my eyes ready, safety off, during the meeting? Naruto asks his Biju tenant, and to Kendra through his familiar bond. Yes, I wouldn't put it past that Warhawk to try something. Especially since the last time you got close to him, I felt the strange presence of the Sharingan under his bandaged eye and covered arm. Says Kurama. Agreed. He may think he has the higher ground, but that decrepit old fool is nothing like a phoenix. His talons will not ensnare us. Kindra vehemently imputed. Naruto silently nodded as he and Tsunade followed Yugao to the Hokage Tower, while Tsunade quietly had Nico to inform the third Hokage on what the council was doing behind his back. Scene change. What is the meaning of this? I go to talk with my student who's returned from his spy network, when in fact I was speaking to a shadow clone. Jiraiya, you'd go behind your sensei's back along with the rest of council? What is this world coming to? Hiruzen shakes his head in disappointment before going to take his seat in the council meeting room where they were about to address Naruto and the QB seal, with Jiraiya looking like he was caught peeking at the bathhouse. Hokage-sama, we have been informed that the Jinchuriki may not have his seal properly on. For destroying most of the Kurama clan, we fear that the QB may have had a hand in influencing the boy in destroying a clan that was a part of Konoha as a whole. Thankfully, Jiraiya had returned from his spy network to see the current status of the QB's seal. Informed Hamura, with the council agreeing with her. I have already excused Naruto for what had occurred with Unkai and his ilk, for the clan head was attacking Team 9 when they were on a mission which successfully removed the curse of the Kurama clan. The boy did not use the QB's chakra while he defended himself and his team. The third Hokage explained to them. Still, Sensei, I need to check the seal in case the QB made a crack in its cage. I'm sorry for not meeting you in person, but I had to make certain my godson was all right after reading the letters you sent me, said Jiraiya. Humph, some godfather you turned out to be. And speaking of which, why did you lie about my godchild being dead for more than a decade, Jiraiya? Tsunade cracked her knuckles, which had Jiraiya get a safe distance from his teammates' reach. You were drunk, Tsunade. You couldn't take care of a baby nor yourself without Shizune or me there. I needed to continue working my spy network to find Orochimaru and those who wished Konoha harm by using the Biju. He should have been safe in Konoha and made bonds with the people. Most of the citizens would rather see me dead than be their friend or duty-bound protector. Granny fixed my voice that these idiots were responsible for, but were only given a slap to the wrist, then be hanged for harming the Hokage's child, said Naruto, which surprised Jiraiya and the civilian council that he could speak again. What do you mean, demon brat? You are not related to the third. You can't call yourself the son or grandson of the Hokages. A merchant council member shouted in protest. Jiraiya grew pale that Naruto knew his lineage and looked at Tsunade and Saratobi Sensei to see if they told. They merely shook their heads in silence to tell the Toad Sage that someone else shared the truth to Naruto. But who? Jiraiya thought in aggravation. Wrong. My full name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, son of Kushina Uzumaki and Minato Namikaze, your beloved fourth. I hoped to announce this during the Chunin exams, but letting the council know first made it happen sooner. My father sealed the QB to keep your misbegotten lives, only to spit on his grave by scarring and hurting his living legacy. Naruto proves this by raising his hand and forming the signature Rasengan before letting it dissipate. That shut them up and had Jiraiya flipping inside that he was not there to teach him this. But he still had the Toad summons and other jutsus that he could bribe the boy. It's true he is the son of my student, which is why I also come to give him the chance to sign the Toad contract like his father did and become as great a hero as his father was. As soon as you let me see the seal. Naruto barely gave the perverted Toad Sage an inch as his hidden familiar tattoo lights up and Kindra appears coiled around his arm the size of a python with her safety lenses on. The council and the pervy sage jumped back in terror at the strange snake that hissed so loudly at Jiraiya and glared her eyes among the civilians and the elders of the council. Tsunade and Naruto were smirking inside to see them jump scared, imagining if Naruto decided to let Kindra show her real size. What is this? Are you in league with the traitor, Orochimaru? Or did that snake slut bend over to get you to sign the snake summons? Demanded Koharu. Your reports are outdated and false. The truth is the snake summons have not been in league with Orochimaru for several years now. Only a handful of snakes still follow that madman. Only Anko and I are the sole summoners of the snakes, having given them a queen. This snake you see before you is Kindra. She is a legendary serpent known as a basilisk. She is my familiar and bonded summon that allowed me to sign the snake contract and get Anko and the snakes back into the good light of the shinobi world. Soon there will be new snake sages in Konoha, and they will be the king and queen of snakes. Naruto proudly proclaimed with Kindra hissing in agreement. Danzo felt the Jinchuriki was growing too powerful as he tried to use his hidden Sharingan on the snake, because the Sharingan could not work on Naruto's hidden eyes that were covered. Unfortunately, Kindra felt the Warhawk's actions and let some of her power slip a little, causing the leader of Root to keel back in pain, feeling that Shirsue's Sharingan was strained and almost ready to die. Danzo was irked that this mysterious snake may be more powerful than the legendary eyes of the Uchiha. He would need to research before trying to usurp Naruto or the beast. Sadly, all notes on basilisks were with the snake summons and kept under guard, lock, and key by the white snake sage at Ryuchi Cave. Jiraiya was perplexed that Naruto would rather have the snakes than his father's trusty toads. But Naruto, your father would have wanted you to have the toad summons. You can't trust the snakes. I trust snakes and foxes more than I trust toads due to the fact that snakes are tight-lipped when mentioning prophecies. The toad summons have broken the laws passed down by the gods that summons may only reveal certain revelations when their summoners pass a series of trials and/or are granted permission by the gods to share such prophecies. My father may have been a good summoner for the toads, but I am not him. Still, I will honor my parents by mastering and improving their techniques and bring back the Uzumaki and Namikaze clans. The Kyuubi and I are aligned in our goals for the future, and they do not pertain in destroying the Leaf Village unless provoked," replied Naruto, which scared Jiraiya and the council that the Kyuubi has tainted the child already. "Lock him up and throw away the key. We can't let the demon escape and try to kill us again," shouted a council member. Other civilians and shinobi of the council hollered their own suggestions on what should be done with Naruto, until the Hokage released his killer intent to shut them up. Silence. The Yamanaka clan head and I have met the Biju within Naruto and have conversed with it. The Biju was released from Kushina by a masked shinobi that held a unique Sharingan reminiscent of Madara's. It was not in control of the suffering and destruction it wrought all those years ago. Hiruzen filled in. Silence settled the council room as they digested on this new bit of information. "Are you certain of this, Hokage-sama?" asked Danzo. "The mind cannot lie to a Yamanaka, Danzo. We saw what through the memories of the Biju and Naruto by their permission, and it was the truth. Some rogue shinobi is out there with a Sharingan that is as strong as Madara Uchiha's that was not a part of the Uchiha clan that was massacred," spoke Inoichi. "Then what do we do when this perpetrator comes to reclaim his weapon?" asked the advisor Hamura. "Train and prepare, my old teammate. Naruto and Team 9 will partake in the Chunin exams to show their strength and resilience for future endeavors. Once Naruto proves that he is of Chunin rank material, he and Anko will complete the trials of the snake summons to become full-fledged sages that will increase Konoha's power. Naruto will also claim his inheritance and family compound to bring back the Uzumaki and Namikaze clans once he's proven to be Chunin. Our enemies will not be so insistent to go to war with us when the living legacy of the Red Death and the Yellow Flash will surpass them both. Do you not agree?" said the third Hokage as the councils whispered to one another. After whispering for 5 minutes, the councils won by a major vote that Naruto and Team 9 would be allowed to compete in the Chunin exams. The Hokage then dismissed Naruto, Kindra, and Tsunade, with the rest of the members of the council exiting as well, leaving Danzo, Jiraiya, and Hiruzen left in the room. "You are playing a dangerous game, my rival. I hope that this Jinchuriki will not bite us behind our backs like Orochimaru did." Danzo gave his words of warning before leaving to his hidden root center to plan for his succession in claiming the Hokage seat. "Sensei, I was supposed to train Naruto so he could fulfill the prophecy. Now he seems to be the second coming of my fallen teammate and may betray Konoha when we least expect it." Jiraiya spoke with an anxious expression. "What's done is done, Jiraiya. I myself have suffered the consequences of trying to control destiny, and look where it has gotten us. We must let Naruto decide how he will fulfill his destiny and give him help when he needs or asks it. I'm just glad I could regain his trust in me and the will of fire. I've seen that he will change Konoha and the elemental nations for the better, even though I may not live to see it. My age is finally catching up with me," Hiruzen said solemnly. "Sensei," Jiraiya hated to see the third Hokage like this. He reverse summoned himself to MT Mayaboku to discuss with the Toads what can be done to get Naruto back on their side while preparing for Orochimaru's attack on Konoha. Scene change. Well, I'm glad that's over. Do you want to come to my place or rejoin your team at Anko's place? Asked Tsunade as they were out of Hokage Tower and walking along the road. Naruto had sent Kindra back to the Ryuchi cave while he thought on his godmother's inquiry. Before Naruto could give an answer, he suddenly heard Gigi's grandson cry for help. Naruto met Konohamaru during his training with Team 9 and decided to help the future Hokage by showing him the Shadow Clone Jutsu. The energetic boy was wowed by Naruto's sword, eyes, and techniques that he took a shine to Naruto and calling him boss. Naruto felt that Konohamaru could fulfill the Hokage dream he gave up on and would be a great one. Naruto found Konohamaru being held by a Suna shinobi that came early for the Chunin exams. The male sand ninja was wearing black attire and face makeup while carrying a mummified object strapped to his back. He looked pissed about something Konohamaru did hand, was pulling on the young Sarutobi's hairs while his teammate/sister tried to calm him down. "I don't care, Temari. This little punk needs to learn not to talk to me like that," said the one called Kankuro. But before the ninja could pummel the little squirt, Naruto appeared next to them with his katana out that was barely touching Kankuro's face. "I apologize if my young disciple had offended you, Shinobi-san. You shouldn't have to use force on the Hokage's grandson who is still too young to compete in the Chunin exams. Save your strength," said Naruto. Kankuro was sweating like crazy before he dropped Konohamaru, who ran to Tsunade's and Naruto's side. "All right, my bad." Kankuro quickly apologized as Naruto put his sword away. "Wow, that was so cool, boss. You know how to make a cool ninja entrance with your blade and wearing that blindfold over your eyes," commented Konohamaru before getting a goose egg courtesy of Tsunade. "It's all about manners and training your butt off, Konohamaru. But tell me, how did you get yourself tangled by that Suna ninja?" Naruto asked. Konohamaru scratches his head before giving his sheepish reply. "Well, I was running away from the pink-haired banshee after I commented how big her forehead looked. And then I didn't look where I was running into when I bumped into that makeup-wearing ninja." Tsunade and Kakuro's sister, Temari, tried to hide their laughter at Kankuro, who was irked at that. "It's not makeup, it's war paint," he cried dramatically. "Then wouldn't it have been better to use red or black for your face? I mean, if your skin was pale white, I even might have mistaken you for a mime or some sort of ninja clown that kills his opponents by screams or laughter," said Naruto, which causes the women to laugh out loud and put Kankuro under a depressing cloud. "Where is he?" shouted the familiar voice of Sakura as she ran into their area. Konohamaru quickly hid behind Naruto while Naruto kept his protege out of sight from his former crush. "Hello, Sakura. How have you been? I heard you and Team 7 were very lucky in saving Wave Country and standing up against the demon of the hidden mists," commented Naruto. "Oh, not bad. Sasuke-kun saved me from Zabuza's apprentice while Kakashi-sensei killed Zabuza. Now Sasuke has awakened his Sharingan and will become a powerful ninja in no time. By the way, who are you, ninja? And why are you here?" asked Sakura, who was blindsided by them, which allowed Konohamaru to escape without her noticing, making Naruto smile at his protege improving on his stealth skills. "Don't you know? We are here to compete in the Chunin exams that's starting next week. Didn't your sensei tell you about this?" said Temari. "Don't be too harsh on her, Kinoiki-san. Sakura and the last loyal Uchiha have the infamous Kakashi Hitaki as their sensei, who is known for being a big procrastinator in Konoha. I think he will inform them later today once he's done wandering the roads of life. My team will be competing in the Chunin exams as well. Can we forget the past transgressions and reintroduce ourselves?" said Naruto. "You first, Blondie. You already know my brother Kankuro. And I want to know the name of my mysterious shinobi that wields a unique weapon just like my giant Iron War fan before I share mine," said Temari. Of course. Naruto then surprises them by showing his eyes that have their protective lenses on. "I'm Naruto Uzumaki. My teammates you'll meet later once the Chunin exams start. And my blade's name is Orochi Kodami. He was a gift from the snake summons that I am contracted with that do not consider Orochimaru as their summoner no more," Naruto introduces to them. "And what about your eyes? Were you born that way, or were they a gift from your summons?" asked Temari. Ah, you first need to tell me your name, Kunoiki-san, and maybe the name of your fan if you have given it one, teased Naruto. Sakura and Kankuro were blanching at Naruto's flirting while Temari blushed in embarrassment before she recomposed herself and introduced herself. My name is Temari. I am one of the Kazekage's children that will prove that my Tsukuhoshi will blow away the competition. A. In meaning Moonstar, because her fan forms 3 moons that she seems to call them stars. An adept name. My eyes were a gift from my summon since I lost my old eyes from a mob attack when I was little, explained Naruto, which caused Temari and Kankuro to flinch, which perplexed Naruto. His answer came when Suna's third teammate revealed himself hanging upside down from the nearby tree, which then landed near Naruto and stared with a frowning look on his face. I am Gaara. Your eyes are quite interesting, just like your blood. I hope you can satisfy Mother when I'll fight you and your team, remarked Gaara, which caused his siblings to shudder while Naruto was told by Kurama on what Gaara was. He's the Jinchuriki of my one-tailed brother, Shikaku. A real nutcase, that one. Watch yourself, Naruto, warned Kurama. Naruto smiled at that. Then I hope Mama 1 can handle Big Bro 9 when we fight to see who is the strongest among us. His vague reply had Gaara surprised before calming down as he walked away with his group. Unfortunately, Sasuke was also listening on this and landed in front of Gaara to show his Uchiha might. And I'm Sasuke Uchiha, and I will be the strongest fighter in the Chunin exams, so you'd be better fighting against me than the loser, said Sasuke. We shall see, was Gaara's only reply as he and his team walked past the elite, who was irritated by being brushed off like that before turning his anger at Naruto. So that's what you look like under that blindfold of yours. It doesn't scare me, loser. For the Sharingan are the most powerful eyes in the elemental nations, proclaimed Sasuke as he showed his one-wheeled Sharingan to intimidate him. Naruto simply remains quiet before taking his godmother by the hand and body flickers in a whirl of water to the Forest of Death Tower where the rest of his team were. He wanted to tell them the good news that they were given the green light to the Chunin exams while having Tsunade stay for dinner as they relaxed for the rest of the day. Not knowing that Jiraiya was planning on doing something drastic to get Naruto to stick to his way of thinking using memory suppression seals and making shady deals with Danzo, so Konoha can remain standing in their minds. Soon they will realize that grabbing a tiger, snake, by the tail is going to get you maimed or worse, even when you are forced to let go. Chapter 6. Cornering a Snake. Naruto was bored. It was the day of the start of the Chunin exams and Naruto, Isaribi, and Yakumo were already inside the first testing area of the academy. It was easy when Yakumo simply recognized the Jinjutsu on the second floor and quietly walked away from the spectacle of Sasuke, bloating his Uchiha ego by calling the Jinjutsu out loud to then get challenged by the apprentice of the Blue Beast. Now they were in the third-floor classroom, seated randomly with other Chunin participants that now had to take the written exam under Anko-sensei's interrogation boss watch, the infamous Ibiki Marino. Naruto and his team easily answered most of the questions while discreetly informing each other their spied-out answers via seals Naruto had given them that allowed to have telepathic conversations like he has with Kurama and Kendra. Now they had to wait till Ibiki gave the final question, which Anko kind of spoiled to them since she wanted them to get ready for the next exam that she would be the proctor of. Not even sizing up the competition alleviate his anxiety. Isaribi and Yakumo had to cut off their telepathic connection when Naruto started daydreaming of Ankakan in various outfits, going from an open kimono, a two-piece snakeskin bikini, and then a dominatrix outfit. Isaribi was blushing up a storm at her fellow teammates' naughty fantasies. Yakumo quipped that she would get back at brother Naruto before cutting off the link. It was an hour later when the intimidating instructor ordered them to put down their pencils. All right. It is time for the 10th question, but first, you must choose whether or not to take the question, Ibiki announced, much to the tester's bewilderment and rising anxiety. What do you mean choosing to take this last question? Kiba stood up brashly, only to whimper back into his seat as Ibiki let out some of his killer intent. He then took off his bandana to show off his disfigured, scarred forehead. Many Chunin were appalled and looked ready to puke and run out the room. As I was saying before I was interrupted, if you choose to take this final question and get it wrong, You and your respective teams will have to relinquish your rights in taking Chunin exams. Forever. The Genin were in disarray at hearing this. For those who aren't confident enough, you can choose not to take the question and take the exam next year or the following years. But know that it will be marked in your shinobi careers that you bailed, taking your team with you. HM, HM, HM. Although there is no shame at backing out now. A shinobi will always be in life or death situations that may require them and their allies to back down and retreat. There is no shame in knowing your limitations and thinking with your heads than just rushing in like a samurai that refuses to back down and gets a dishonorable death at the end. Ibiki was grinning at seeing many of the kids were shaken by his words. Naruto reconnected his mental links to his teammates to comfort them, knowing that Ibiki was much more intimidating than Anko-sensei is. Isaribi and Yakumo were thankful that Naruto was their team leader and protector, someone they too would protect, as they were trained to be a wellness specialist team. With that, Ibiki called on those that wished to back out now to raise their hands. Several hands went up as many genin were escorted out of the room, leaving only a less than half of what they started with. After several minutes of silence, Ibiki announces that they all pass. Kiba, Sasuke, Sakura, and Kankuro were stumped by this. That is when Naruto captivated the audience by giving a applauding slow clap. I gotta say, you are definitely a master when it comes to fear tactics and wordplay. Are you sure that you are not a snake summoner like me and Anko-sensei? You would get along well with many of the snakes in Ryuchi Cave. Not all are into mad science, Databeo. Naruto joked while many were looking at the blindfolded blonde like he had a screw loose. Ibiki chuckled at Anko's fellow summoner and future boy toy. This Uzumaki was living up to his title at being unpredictable. Ibiki guessed that Anko may have finked on him so that she could show off her team in the second and third portions of the Chunin exams. Thanks, but no thanks. I have my own special summons that will make Puppet Boy green with envy at what I got stocked to help capture and interrogate. Right now, you all should wait for your next proctor to take you to your next examination area. Ibiki informed the remaining contenders. They didn't have to wait long as something crashed through the window and smoke enveloped everything. When the smoke settles, Naruto and his teammates were shocked and annoyed at who their proctor was. It seems that the council may have gotten away with refusing Anko to referee the genin in her home turf of the Forest of Death. Long spiky hair faced the audience as the Toad Sage did a silly kabuki dance before summoning himself onto a large toad to wow them. All right, kiddies. Behold, the gallant Jiraiya of the Sage is here. Meet me at the entrance of the Forest of Death in 1 hour. The giant toad then leapt through the wall outside before vanishing back to his realm. Only Jiraiya was still in the classroom, flat-faced against the wall above the large hole the summon had made, his body not strong enough to bash through like he did with the glass windows. Team 9 left quickly to get away from Jiraiya and his antics, with the other genin following suit. Scene change. Huh, I am so glad that I disowned my would-be godfather. What were my parents thinking when naming him my guardian? At least my godmother is another story and is better company than that super pervert is. Naruto commented as he was interacting with his team and the other females that were waiting outside the barbed fence gates. Temari wanted to get closer to the Jinchuriki that went through, if not more so, than what her brother did in Suna. Another that joined Temari, Isaribi, and Yakumo was the only female genin in Team Dosu. Her name is Kintsuchi. She and her teammates were ordered to spy on the last Uchiha, and this Naruto Uzumaki that somehow gotten the snake summons favor more than the leader of Rice Country. Yet, Kin was finding Naruto to be more fun and pleasant company than her own teammates, teasing him at having his blindfold because his eyes may also see through clothing, which caused the girls and Naruto to blush in embarrassment. Naruto got back at her by complimenting on her beautiful long serpentine hair that may feel silky and smooth like Kendra's scales, getting a goose egg on his noggin courtesy of Yakumo and Temari. Sakura also tried to hit her Naruto, but was stopped by her teammate Sai. Sai being Ami's replacement after she quit after her experience in Wave Country. Jiraiya arrived a few minutes later, seeing his former godson being with so many girls and his head rubbed by Isaribi with a shy smile on her face faulting and inwardly crying at Naruto's good fortune. He quickly got up as he described the opening of the second test of the Chunin exams. Listen up. I need everyone in their respective teams in rows of 2 after you all sign these papers that what happens in the forest stays in the forest with Konoha, not to be blamed by the other nations. They soon looked over them and signed as some of the guard Chunin body flickered the paperwork to the third Hokage's office. Once everyone had finished signing and forming their lines, Jiraiya went on to explain the rules. Each of your teams will be given one scroll with either an earth symbol or a heaven symbol. Once you have entered the forest of death, your team must claim another team's scroll that has the exact opposite to your team's scroll. Once you have both scrolls, you are to quickly head to the tower in the center of the forest in 5 days from now, and then you are allowed to open both scrolls when your whole team reaches the checkpoint. You can get the scrolls however you deem fit. But be warned, there are many beasts in the forest that will eat all intruders in their territories. Many Genin and distracted Chunin have lost their lives in there, hence the dub name for this particular forest in Konoha. Good luck. You're gonna need it, Jiraiya told the teams. Choji raised his hand to ask a certain question. What do we do for food? You should have some skilled in foraging and survival tactics. And you can take your personal businesses behind in the bushes. As long as you don't get yourself caught by the giant spiders, tigers, snakes, and other predators. Jiraiya lazily replies. Okay then, let's get started. On your marks, set, go. The two teams enter through their delegated entrance as they rush to get a head start in reaching the checkpoint. Only Team 9, Team Suna, and Team Dosu did not vanish like the others as they all had to stand off a few meters from their starting point. Gaara wanting to taste Naruto's blood while Dosu and Zaku wanted to kill Naruto and play with Yakumo and Isaribi until they no longer had a use for them. Temari and Kin were saddened that Naruto and his team had to die, but the planned invasion made Naruto their enemy. Surprisingly, Naruto, who was holding a heaven scroll, raised his hand as he gave Kin his scroll to them. The ninja competitors were shocked at him doing this that they had to ask before they attack. Why did you do that? Kin asked. Yeah, why her when you could have given me the scroll, Naruto-kun? I would have spared you and worked out a deal for you and your team if you wanted to live past these Chunin exams, said Temari as Kin gave her the stink eye. Because your team already has a heaven scroll, Tamarican, and these exams would be boring if only Konoha Nin were to make it while the other national teams were out of the race. And besides, I know that you are a strong kunoichi that doesn't take the easy way. My team and I have been training in this forest since we became Genin, so we know how to survive. And I know your brother wants to prove himself against me, but this forest is not the place to do it. Garrison, are you willing to hold off on your bloodlust until the finals of the exam so you can show the people your existence? If you were to kill me and my team now, no one would witness how terrifying and strong you and your siblings are, said Naruto with Gaara and his siblings faltering at his words. Gaara really wanted to satisfy Mother, but he understood that proving his existence to a large live audience would be better. Gaara nodded at Temari and Kankuro as they stood down and began following Gaara into the trees. Temari smiled and waved at Naruto before disappearing in a gust of wind, leaving Team Anko to deal with Team Dosu. I suspect that your Team Kin has connections to a pale pedophile. You should know that he is a parasite that will do anything to flee from death. His curse marks are proof of that. We have learned that he transfers himself into another body that hosts his fanged hikis. Anko-sensei talked about how he desires power and knowledge, meaning that he will mark the last Uchiha in order to gain his Sharingan. You are just the test dummies for his future body. Naruto's words cut deep to Dosu and Zaku, who frowned at being labeled as test dummies. Kin shuddered at knowing she was the weakest of their team and happy that Naruto showed that he cared about their lives. So here's the deal. You fight Sasuke to see how well you all stand. Then quickly retreat to compete in the next part of these exams. I can offer you sanctuary and training, so you don't bite the dust. However, you will have to swear your loyalties to me and to the Uzumaki clan. Naruto gave his ultimatum. Dosu pondered this and noticed that the blindfolded shinobi mentioned him and his clan, but not Konoha village. And the village too? Naruto shook his head before replying. Konoha believes itself to be the #1 village in the elemental nations, mostly due to the egos of the council and the civilians. I think Konoha needs to get a good, manly beating to humble them more than what the nine-tailed fox did. But if the council continues harassing me and my teammates, I may have to leave until the majority change their minds and not be judgmental and blind to tell the difference between a seal and a sealed weapon or a sensei and their former student. Although I would like to stay in the home of my parents. Team Dosu was surprised to hear the last Uzumaki not trusting the village they helped create with the Senju and Uchiha clans. Perhaps Lord Orochimaru could convince Naruto to join Sound Village and maybe turn things around than being feared into being future experiments and harsh punishments. Can just hope that maybe she could convince Naruto into becoming his maid/servant or something else. Humph, alright then. Honestly, you don't look so tough as the Uchiha brat. Come on, let's go. Zaka told his teammates as he dashed away. Dosu stayed quiet before taking the scroll from Kin and followed after Zaku. Kin was sad to leave Naruto so soon, but she was ordered to stay with her team and follow through on Orochimaru's orders. For now. After Kin had left, Yakumo and Isaribi questioned Naruto on where they would find their two needed scrolls. Naruto simply shrugged as he suggested they check out the spider area of the forest first and taking the scrolls from the caught Chunin. He surmised that they could get both scrolls before their 5-day limit expired. Agreeing with Naruto, they dashed to the left part of the forest to search for webbed victims while scaring off the spiders by summoning Kindra to help them search when they reached there, not knowing that Jiraiya was nearby and had heard their dealings. Jiraiya was more upset that Naruto cared little to what happens to Konoha. Once he rendezvous with Danzo and his root, Jiraiya would seal Naruto and his memories of the snakes, making him more obedient and accepting of Konoha and its protection from all harm. The brat would fulfill the prophecy under the gallant Jiraiya's guidance, not some treacherous summons like the snakes. Scene change. That was a great hunt, Little Storm. And you got both scrolls you need without having to show off too much of your skills. I'm certain you and your team will earn the rank of Chunin. Hopefully before you go through with your decision in leaving Konoha for a bit. Kindra hissed to Naruto after enjoying that giant spider and scaring the smaller spiders away. I hope so too, Kindra-chan. If the village does not accept my promotion or the amazing progress Yakumanizan and Isaribican have made, then they're more blind than I was. Also, the rumors of Orochimaru planning an invasion from the snake spies would definitely light a fire under their kuisters. Though you and I can help lessen the damage and gain more favor with Konoha, allowing me and my precious people to stay longer in the Uzumaki/Namikaze compound. Naruto communes to Kindra. Kindra nods her head in agreement before she returns to Ryuchi Cave. Naruto has Isaribi and Yakumo hold on to the scrolls, knowing that any adversary would come after Naruto since he looked stronger than the others, using the concept of misdirection to Team 9's advantage. They decided to make camp for the rest of the day while Naruto lifted his blindfold and kept watch with his serpentine eyes, a safety measure to ensure the spiders don't come back anytime soon. An hour later, Naruto's supervision sensed something was coming their way. Quietly alerting his teammates, he puts his cover back on and unsheaths Oroki Kodami. Yakumo forms a fog-like Jinjutsu that is upgraded by Isaribi's hidden mist jutsu, making a good cover for Team 9 to disappear and make a quick getaway to the tower. Unfortunately, a great gust of wind blows the mist away as someone powerful breaks Yakumo's Jinjutsu. That someone reveals to be a tall grass kunoichi. She reveals to have a super long tongue as she stares at her prey from above in the tree. Not bad. Combining the hidden mist jutsu with another Jinjutsu by the last heiress to the Kurama clan. My former pupil chose well when taking the responsibility to train you all. Especially you, Naruto-kun. You are quite the talk from what my spies could glean of your amazing gifts. The kunoichi's voice transitioned into a sleazy male's voice. Well, this is a surprise to be greeted by the legendary Orochimaru. After only having nearly going through a whole day in the Forest of Death, shouldn't you be stalking some other genin that has more specialized than mine? Naruto snarked as Orochimaru disposed of his disguise much to the girl's disgust. I already gifted Sasuke-kin after playing with his disorienting team. Now I want to see these royal snake eyes that you have and see how they compare to mine. Orochimaru eagerly stares with his yellow slit eyes peering at Naruto. If you insist. Naruto begins to pull down his blindfold and remove his protective lenses after alerting his team via communication seals. When suddenly, the area gets an eerie feeling. Team 9 and Orochimaru are surprised to see over 24 root agents with Danzo stepping out of the shadows with Jiraiya at his side. Naruto quickly puts his protective lenses back on as he has Yakumo and Isaribi prepare their strongest attacks to defend themselves while he deals with the Warhawk, Toad Sage, and X-Snake Sage. What a surprise. My former teammate, still a fool. And you are now in cahoots with my former employer. You must be desperate if you are allied to that relic. Orochimaru taunts. This has nothing to do with you, Orochimaru. We only want Naruto. I may want to end you for betrayal to Sensei and to the village, but Naruto's behavior and growing abilities need to be stopped, said Jiraiya. You would reprogram the child of your most favorite student? I must be dreaming. For you to act as cutthroat and cold-hearted like me and Danzo. This is a most intriguing position. Orochimaru turns to look at Naruto to see what will happen next. Give up, Jinchuriki. You are outnumbered and outmatched. Surrender to fulfill your duty as Konoha's weapon, and I will spare your teammates, says Danzo while not taking his eye off the blonde genin. Not happening. I won't let you take me and my team to become emotionless drones that will needlessly die for your cause of the greater good. You should trust Saruto more than your own shadow, you scared mummy. You too, you pervert. Naruto shouts back as he readies his sword. The former god of shinobi has become too soft. He doesn't realize the dangers that Konoha faces that requires my shadow to fight off for the good of the leaf. Especially with terrorists that are stalking all Jinchuriki, an organization you were once a part of, Orochimaru. Danzo hopes that his words will force Naruto to fight the traitor for answers. Distracting the brat long enough for him and the rest of Team 9 to be detained and re-educated for total loyalty to the leaf and its future Hokage. Naruto knows not to let his guard down as he looks to Orochimaru. Is it true? Yes. They are called the Akatsuki. However, I parted ways with them after getting too close one of their members. Jiraiya knows of their plans to capture Jinchuriki as well, hoping to train you to be like your father and take credit for being your teacher that saves the world. Unfortunately, becoming your sensei won't do him much good for his reputation since his other students are leading the Akatsuki, making both him and Danzo the authors in creating the most dangerous class rouges to ever walk the elemental nations. Orochimaru admits, adding the last bit to throw off Jiraiya and Danzo at this new bit of information. You lie? Jiraiya denies as he works to summon Gamabunta in anger at Orochimaru's claim to the supposed deceased trio from Rain. Danzo is getting nervous as he sees Orochimaru plans to ally with the Rouge Jinchuriki to escape, while trying to take down his rival and any number of root that will weaken Konoha's defenses. Danzo begins unraveling the bandages around his head to gain the upper hand. I may not like you for what you did to Anko, but I hate the mummy and the pervert even more. You willing to join forces? I can summon Manda, so both you and him can finish your rivalry with Jiraiya and the Toad Boss. I plan on eliminating this old fossil once and for all. Naruto shows his green basilisk eyes that look at the intrigued yellow snake once. Kukuku, I would be happy to fight alongside my old partner, but I require more compensation for my cooperation, says Orochimaru. Sheesh, so that's where Manda got his attitude for wanting human sacrifices before Kindra and I showed up. I have offered to train your sound team in the next exam so that they will be better than your future vessels training dummies. How about letting me take them to be protectors of the restoration of my clans? You can take any of these drones to be used for whatever after I cut off their leader's head. Naruto offers while asking for Team Dosa's freedom from Orochimaru's schemes. The pale pedophile cared little for his pawns as he planned to later use them for his forbidden jutsu. Yet having extra fresh bodies for experimentation was a good trade-off for those weaklings. Then another idea crossed the pale snake's mind as he knew Tsunade was in the village and had overcome her fear of blood to be a better medic. Very well. I can agree to those terms, with an extra clause. Once I have dealt with Jiraiya, I require the help of my other teammate. One of my most special subordinates is suffering from an illness that not even my skills or best medic can heal him. Prove your power, Naruto-kun, and convince Tsunade to cure my patient. Then you can also have him as useful tool to protect your team and allies. Naruto is surprised by the snake's curveball. He has little time to think as he notices the root agents getting ready to pounce, with Danzo revealing his stolen Sharingan in hopes that it will overpower Naruto's own. He reluctantly agrees as he summons Manda into the forest. Jiraiya stood atop of Gamabunta in silence as he watched in horror at Naruto making a deal with the devil. What is the meaning of this, brat? Why am I seeing my pathetic former partner here with you? Manda orders. The time has come to continue your rivalry with the Toads, since the Toad Sage has aligned himself with a washed-up shinobi that believes himself to be future ruler of Konoha by turning his subjects into mindless zombies. It is Orochimaru's once chance to show that he is still a competent warrior that he can fight alongside you, Mandasama. Also, in defeating your Toad rival, I can put a few good words for you to Kendra-chan. Your stalemates with Garagara have done little to persuade her. Naruto shares without going into parcel tongue. Manda turns his blue-slit eyes to Gamabunta as he gives a fanged grin, laughing in joy at having the chance to prove his strength and superiority. I'm gonna enjoy popping you, tasty red balloon. I've been waiting for a chance to fight you again after watching your poor little seal keeper be sacrificed to the most powerful serpent, I am loath to say. Your tadpoles may have the displeasure of gazing into her deathly stare in the future. Jiraiya and Gamabunta were shocked and angered at now knowing Jiratora's fate after having searched for so many years. The Toad boss unsheathes his large tanto as the standoff is coming to an end, and the battle between snakes, toads, and hawks is about to begin. Chapter 7. Pruning and Grafting. Manda shot forward as the summons and sages took their fight beyond the trees, leaving Naruto, Yakumo, and Isaribi to fend off Danzo and his root division, with Naruto charging forward at the old fossil. Danzo calmly looks at the disobedient weapon before activating his Sharingan's ultimate ability, expecting the Uzumaki to pause and obey his true master. However, what happened next only gave him a split second to activate his other multiple hidden Sharingan and one failsafe jutsu. The green eyes glowed gold as the protective lenses peeled away, scaring Danzo for the first time as he revived close by, only to curse himself at underestimating the potency of the Jinchuriki's ocular powers. Powers that have destroyed his own eye and the former eye of Shursui Uchiha. I'm surprised, and also annoyed that you are still alive after seeing my cursed eyes. The eyes that bring death to all who look on them at full power. It seems the fox was right when he sensed your abomination of an arm. The only reason you're alive is you still have a few more eyes left for me to destroy before I make your trip to the afterlife permanent. Naruto glares as he catches up and readies Oroki Kodami to cut Danzo to pieces. I was meant to be the one true ruler of the leaf, and you were to be my weapon to destroy all in Konoha's path. Sarutobi was a fool when he thought you were meant to be more than just a tool. Root to me. Danzo cries as he utilizes wind jutsu blindly, preventing Naruto from getting close to him while he awaited his forces to grab him and retreat to one of their underground operations. However, all the root agents were being subdued, bound, and forced unconscious after Isaribi and Yakumo got through with them, being stronger than the drones because of Naruto and Anko Sensei's training, and having home advantage in fighting in the forest of death than most shinobi. Danzo grew impatient as he could not see or sense his security force coming to bail him, too cautious to reveal his remaining Sharingan on his covered arm, or else those deadly eyes destroy him completely. Never had the Warhawk believed such a thing could happen, that another set of eyes could be more powerful than the legendary bloodline of the Uchiha clan. He prepared to use his hidden wood jutsu to trap and bind the Uzumaki that dared remove his precious eyes that he gained for the good of the leaf. Naruto sensed that Danzo was up to something as he got closer. Not wanting to give the Shadow Warmonger another second, he disoriented the old fossil with several hits from his fist and pommel before kicking him into a tree. The trunk cracked at the force of the kick as Naruto once again raised his sword to cut off Danzo's arm before taking his corrupt head. Danzo, for the first time in forever, let out his anger and frustration as he summoned an orange elephant-like monster, the Baku. It opens its large mouth as it starts to devour anything in its vacuum range, having Naruto and the girls hide behind the large trees that were resisting the beast's pull. I will not die here. my summon will devour you before you can ever use your infernal eyes against me. Once the devourer of nightmares traps you in its stomach, I will have my other hidden forces ready to bind you and extract your miraculous eyes and implant them in me to make up for the ones you destroyed. Then I will become the most feared after taking the Hokage seat and be known as the Deathbringer to all who look upon me or Konoha as their enemy. Danzo raves as he hides behind the Baku's front legs as the summon continues to devour ripped roots, bushes, and anything else in its tunnel path. Speaking of summons, the battle between Toad and Snake waged a good distance while keeping an eye on the other fight. Jiraiya had hopped on Manda's back as the towering snake had gotten his tail in Gamabunta's blind spot, wrapping the Toad in his coils. But the Toad summon wasn't struggling like a scared animal as he unsheathed his tall tanto to pierce the snake's scales and get himself free. Unfortunately, Manda saw this and had his fanged jaws grasp the blade, preventing Gamabunta from piercing his scales. The two summons were in a stalemate as Jiraiya worked to free his summon by searching for Manda's weak spots. However, he also searched for Orochimaru, who had slithered out of sight, while the summons fought a battle of will and endurance. His caution paid off as he jumped up, avoiding a back strike from the pale sage that grinned in hunger and excitement. The two began fighting using taijutsu while also using their sharp tongue and spiked hair. Orochimaru retracted as he hated that buffoon's annoying yet effective defense. The White Snake Sage summons the Kusanagi into his hand before covering it in wind jutsu to give the super pervert a well-needed trim, only to stop as the sages sensed the summoning of the Baku. The beast with an appetite bigger than Manda's had its mouth opened in their direction as it slowly started to pull them in its gaping mouth. It seems Danzo must be desperate to capture the troublesome Uzumaki. Yet he always seemed to have the worst luck when it came to dealing with that clan when they have special eyes. I wonder which is more powerful, the eyes of the ruler of snakes, or the Rinnegan that the Shrank Akatsuki have as their leader, taunted Orochimaru. Stop lying, Orochimaru. You can't fool me into believing that my former students are alive after the report of their deaths when Hanzo had captured them. Besides, Yahiko, Nagato, and Konin would never reform their rebellion group to spread fear and terror that continues the cycle of hatred. I taught them better. Just like I taught my other student that became a more worthy Hokage than you ever would have been. And once I have removed the eyes and the poisonous teachings of the snakes, I will make certain Naruto learns the proper way and surpasses Minato, that he will become not just the savior of Konoha, but the savior of the world, Jiraiya declares. Orochimaru scoffs at his naive fellow student of Sarutobi. I honestly wonder how foolish you are to believe that the boy will ever accept you or your teachings. It is because of your teachings that Minato foolishly believed that the village's hate would die after learning of his son's burden while hiding his identity until you finished training him to protect himself. I too have experienced how hatred and prejudice are not so easy to dismiss when they see or know that you are different than them. Instead of passing your spy network to your most trusted spy and focusing on the boy's growth, you let the village harm him to make him a more malleable apprentice for you to mold when you no longer let the face of your Namikaze student haunt you. You didn't even go back to aim to verify if your previous students were truly dead. The report you were given only was half true. One of your students did die to protect the others. And because of Yahiko's death, the bearer of the Rinnegan awakened to the world around him as he unleashed his full power, going underground and re-evaluating your teachings until he decided that the only way to save the world was by destroying it, even allowing me to join their ranks for a time until I got too anxious in gaining the dojutsu that was less dangerous from the Akatsuki. Nagato has become a frightening opponent, even that he believes himself to be a god that will destroy all corruption. That is your legacy, Jiraiya. Instead of a savior of salvation, you raised a god of pain and devastation. Jiraiya was shaking in fear and realization that the prophecy now had two candidates. One that was set on bringing destruction, while the other was following his own path that was not following Jiraiya's. If Nagato truly is the Akatsuki leader known as Pain, he needed to stop him before the elemental nations paid the price for his mistakes. But he needed help if the Rinnegan was involved. If Naruto's new eyes had the power to overcome the Sharingan, then maybe it could rival, if not eliminate, the corrupting power of the legendary eyes of the Sage of Six Paths. Jiraiya had to trust his sensei and his passing student again after it was shaken from recent events. Getting closer to the Baku's mouth, Jiraiya, Orochimaru, and the two boss summons spotted Naruto holding onto a tree vine and his embedded sword. Seeing that his eyes were green, since the boy decided the death gaze would not be effective in this scenario, and full of determination in facing the Baku and its master. The Uzumaki heir did something unexpected as he aimed directly into Baku's mouth, unleashing a dark-colored mist that soon was swallowed by the Baku. The Baku's eyes widened as it ate a poison never tasted before, feeling its life slipping quickly. It closed its mouth shut and vanished back to the summoned realm to die, while leaving Danzo bewildered and alone. Taking the initiative, Jiraiya kicks the Kusanagi out of Orochimaru's hand and delivers a Rasengan to the face, only for the pale sage to reveal himself to be a simple mud clone, while the real Kusanagi fell and landed near where Isaribi and Yakumo hid with their captive root agents. Manda not wanting to leave the fight in a stalemate, he uncoils the end of his tail to smack Gamabunta in the face. The toad lets go of his sword as the snake boss tosses it away before striking his opponent on the arm, his fangs injecting their venom into the giant amphibian before removing them and using his coils to throw Gamabunta across the forest of death. The toad boss quickly retreated so the other MT Mayaboka toads could help neutralize the venom and heal his injuries, leaving Manda to shake the remaining sage off his body before focusing his attention on Naruto, who now was charging Danzo, not giving the Warhawk time to unseal his last trump card as Naruto slices the Hashirama arm before delivering a horizontal slash that freed Danzo's head from his shoulders. Naruto breathed a sigh of relief that the most likely instigator of his early childhood torment was finally gone, looking forward to Hireniazen sending that old man to his deserved afterlife. He turns to look at Jiraiya, who stood there staring at him. The toad sage gives a look not of disappointment, but of confusion and sorrow. He then reverse summons himself to his summon's realm to ponder on things, leaving Naruto with Manda, his teammates, and the real Orochimaru who appeared. Manda laughs in joy at having his victory, now gaining him favor to the Basilisk Queen, as well as the great accomplishment of his summoner that had defeated the legendary Baku and its contractor. I hope that my victory over the stinking toad has proven my power, boy. It will take days for Gamabunta to recover from my poison and inflicted injuries. You have done well, Mandasama. You also stood your ground against the gaping maw of that summon that almost ripped the giant trees from the floor. Kendra-chan will view you in a more favorable light than Garagara, said Naruto before bowing respectfully to the horned serpent. Manda accepts the praise before vanishing back to Ryuchi Cave to declare his victory and continue his conquest to Wu Kendra. Naruto then had his full attention on Orochimaru, the two of them staring at the other's serpentine gaze for several moments. You let Jiraiya escape, Naruto points out, but not intact. I always like to deal deep wounds of the mental nature than of the physical. He is now broken at now wanting to confirm that he inadvertently created the Akatsuki that is preparing to hunt and capture the Jinchuriki and their respective tailed beast. Orochimaru retorts. Naruto mulls it over before speaking again. I suppose that wounding the pervert would get him to question if his quest to reform me is worth it if he tries to talk sense to his former pupils. Undoubtedly. But his next decision will still have his fate judged by me. A win-win, I guess. Which means I will convince my godmother to examine and heal your subordinate. Orochimaru smiles before looking at the other members of Team 9 that gather their prisoners before jumping to Naruto's side. The sage then walks over to Danzo's remains, looking at Danzo's lifeless eyes before picking up the prosthetic arm full of Sharingan that had unraveled from their bandages, revealing only one eye was dim compared to the others. Orochimaru then walks over to his latest test subjects before looking at Team 9. I look forward to our future arrangements that we will discuss. Are you leaving without this? Naruto shows the Kusanagi that Isaribi picked up by the handle and given to her teammate. I was going to gift it to Sasuke-kun, but I wished to see how special your powers were that I only was able to give him my curse mark. and what I have witnessed has surpassed my expectations. You even spared me a few Sharingan that Danzo forced me to graft for him. So keep it, as a gift and apology to my former pupil." Orochimaru chuckles before vanishing into the forest floor along with his captives. After taking a few moments to check to see if their area was secure and vacant, Naruto was tackled by his teammates, hugging him in a grip that seemed to compare to Tsunade's bone-crushing hugs. Naruto accepted it and returned it before discussing their next course of action. "Well, this has been an exciting day. Why don't we make a break for the tower? We should arrive in time to get first place as the finishers of the second exam in record time, and surprise Anko with our gift from the pedo snake." But can we trust Orochimaru? He is known far and wide in getting what he wants in his shady dealings and forgetting projects that say they work for him, but he never visits. Like how I was part of an experiment from one of his scientists before Tsunade and Shizune saved me, said Isaribi. Maybe, but I have a feeling that the traitor will soon get himself cornered with no escape from his punishment, leaving his village and resources to the ones that now own his sword and summoning contract. A hidden refuge that not even the pervert has been able to find, making it a backup hideaway if Konoha blows over and my ancestral homeland is too obvious for the Akatsuki or my parents' enemies in locating me, said Naruto. Why don't we hold off on this discussion for Anko-sensei, Lord Hokage, and Lady Tsunade to be a part of, after we reach the tower and finish the second exam? Then we should inform them of what happened and your deal you made with the leader of the Sound Village, if you still have your head and your manhood. Yakumo leaves for Naruto as she and Isaribi started walking up the tree before hopping to reach the tower. Naruto's eyes shrink at realizing that he was in trouble for making a devil deal with Orochimaru. He quickly follows them as he uses his communication seal to tell them to wait up for him, only hearing the giggles of his two teammates in his head as he accepted that they had got back at him for the first exam. Scene change. To Team 9's shock, they had reached the tower in second place, Team Gaara having finished before them and getting Anko to berate Naruto for making her lose her bet with the other Jounin. It was the Kusanagi that saved his bacon as he then took Anko and his team to discuss what happened in the Forest of Death to the Hokage and Tsunade, who was in his office when they arrived. To say that Tsunade was angry would be an understatement. She punched Naruto through the office door before pouncing on him and demanding what her good-for-nothing godchild was thinking. It was thanks to Anko and Shizune that restrained the slug sage further before Yakumo and Isaribi quickly explained things further, while adding the fact that Danzo was no more, and Jiraiya had retreated after learning of his past students that may be still alive. The mention of the AIM trio got Tsunade's attention as she remembered those three orphans, the young kids that Jiraiya took pity on and raised before they left Rain Country after the Second Shinobi War. Tsunade was not amused that her snake of a teammate had verified their survival and revision before he left the Akatsuki. Nevertheless, she knew that Jiraiya would now start to think more clearly than trying to force her godson into being his prophesied savior. Hopefully, he would be his old caring self for his comrades than being a toad fanatic. Tom would tell. The Senju princess had other concerns now that she was required to heal one of Orochimaru's ill subordinate. Her oath as a doctor would not allow others to suffer due to illness or other kinds of pain. Having accepted to take in the new patient when Team Dosu made it out of the Forest of Death in one piece a few days later, meeting Naruto and the others in the Hokage hospital. The Sound Ninja pledged their loyalty to Naruto and to the Uzumaki clan. Naruto accepted this as he told Dosu to bring the patient, confusing Kin and Zaku, who were not told of the new arrangement via their spy. Dosu vanishes in a swirl of wind before returning with another person. Tsunade and Shizune were shocked to see that the person that required medical attention had the distinguished cranial zigzag pattern between his white hair and two scarlet dots on his forehead, the markings of the infamous Kagaya clan that was believed to have become extinct. Except Orochimaru found the last living member. A living member of the Kagaya clan. I thought it impossible, but only Orochimaru could have got his hands on a rare bloodline user like yourself. Tell me, can you actually use the Deadbone Pulse? Asked Tsunade. Deadbone Pulse? Isaribi asks. It is said that those of the Kagaya clan have a special bloodline that allows them to use and manipulate their bones, an entire skeletal system to fight. making them a lethal force to enemies, especially when they are also able to regenerate their bones and strengthen them to be as strong as steel. Shizen explains. Her answer has Team 9 and Team Dosu have a jaw-dropping scene, not knowing such a bloodline existed. The Kagaya named Kimimaro stepped forward and answered Tsunade before clarifying Shizun's words. I can use my clan's Kekkei Genkai. However, it is more accurate to compare and surpass my bone's strength to that of tempered steel that shows no signs of being brittle. Lord Orochimaru saved me and gave me purpose until I became ill that gives me trouble when breathing. Even sometimes coughing up blood, said Kimimaro. Tsunade narrows her eyes as she takes in the information, getting a vial and needle ready as she receives permission Nod to take some of his blood. Afterwards, she hands the vial to her student/assistant, who worked quickly to begin analyzing. You could be diagnosed with the rare case of having tuberculosis disease. We won't know until I get the results. It's not common in the elemental nations, but I have almost developed a cure for it after having my fear of blood gone thanks to my sweet godson, who from what I have been told is to be your new lord. Tsunade pointed to the blindfolded Uzumaki. Kimimaro takes several steps before being in Naruto's face. His eyes narrowed at the strange Uzumaki that didn't share the clan's distinct red hair. I will not pledge to one who cannot look me in the eye. Are you a selfish boy compared to my selfless master? What is your reason for living? Anko looks ready to unsheath the Kusanagi that Naruto had given her, only for him to stop her. He slowly removes his blindfold before revealing his protected green slit eyes to the Kagaya and Team Dosu. Seeing the green with no white scara in the background made Dosu and Zaka hesitant at seeing a more monstrous snake man than Orochimaru. Kin and Kimimaro didn't see the hungry eyes of a predator, but akin to that of a noble dragon that showed might, majesty, and humility. Although the Kagaya sensed that there was a hidden side that would bring fury and death to any that looked to be the Uzumaki's enemy, that did not prepare them for the response that Naruto would give. I am not one to covet for things that are not given to me. I'd rather prove my strength in my heart that I am worthy of the gifts and blessings that I have received. I know what it's like to be ostracized and hated for being different, even before I got these new eyes. But I will always honor my words with my actions by protecting the family I never had growing up. To the one, I am slowly growing by making them and myself stronger to be more than just tools to be thrown away when aged or broken. I ask you not to be my slave or my servant. I ask that you be my fellow comrade that I can rely and depend on to protect those that are not as strong as you and I are. And maybe someday, when you are cured from your affliction, revive the Kagaya clan to be better than what it once was. With the Uzumakis as your first and longtime ally for generations to come in, bringing something that this world needs more than bloodlines. Peace. After hearing this, Kimimaro is surprised along with Team Dosu. Tsunade smirks as she looks forward to more great things that Naruto and his increasing precious people will bring to the war-torn elemental nations. Anko is grinning at how charismatic her Snake King has become after surviving her ex-sensei and the old shadow fossil. That she pounces on the unsuspecting boy as he tries to free himself from her playful strong headlock. Having Isaribi and Kin try to break the snake slut from their potential boyfriend. Zaku and Dosu are inwardly cursing at the Uzumaki's good fortune with the ladies, while Kimimaro looks at the scene with awe and inner turmoil. He then looks to the remaining member of Team 9 who has been placed in a medical wheelchair, having pushed her body when running and fighting in the forest of death. She seemed to look at the Kagaya with envy and admiration, much to Kimimaro's surprise, before Yakumo quickly hides a blush forming on her face. She looks again in anticipation on what will happen next. After thinking it over, Kimimaro takes a bow that it stops the banter. I, Kimimaro, last member of the Kagaya clan, do hereby swear loyalty to Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, to the protection and restoration of the Uzumaki clan and Kagaya clan. May my vessel serve as your retainer to accomplish your greatest goal, vows Kimimaro. Naruto gets free from the girls to raise Kimimaro up, having accepted the vow, and then going to take Yakumo to her room with Isaribi and Anko following, hoping that their whole team can participate in the final third exams tomorrow. Anko would not be there to watch as she was heading to Ryuichi Cave to begin her training with the snakes, at now having the Kusanagi and no curse mark. So, she was spending as much quality time with her hubby and little sisters before then. Leaving Tsunade to direct the sound ninja to the Namikaze/Uzumaki compound to rest and prepare for tomorrow. The morning air in Training Ground 7 was still. Too still. Even the birds seemed hesitant to sing, as if something in the environment warned them to stay silent. Naruto stood motionless in the center of the clearing, his blindfold tied firmly across his eyes. The cloth shifted slightly with the breeze, but his body did not move at all. Ichiki rested coiled loosely around his shoulders, its tongue flicking out rhythmically, tasting the air. Beside him, Hinata Hyuga stood with her hands gently clasped together. Her pale eyes scanned the surroundings with quiet tension, her Byakugan not yet activated but ready. A few meters away, Sasuke Uchiha leaned against a tree, arms crossed, impatience clear in the slight tapping of his foot against the ground. Minutes passed. Then, a swirl of leaves. A flicker of presence. Yo! Kakashi Hitaki stood there as if he had always been there. Naruto tilted his head slightly. Inside his mind, Kurama scoffed. Late. Weak entrance. Kendra's voice followed, calm and calculating. Observe him carefully. He hides far more than he shows. Sasuke pushed himself off the tree. You're late. Kakashi scratched the back of his head lazily. Ah, sorry. I got lost on the path of life. Sasuke frowned. Hinata blinked in confusion. Naruto remained silent. Kakashi's visible eye shifted toward him. For a moment, there was tension. Something subtle. Instinct. Then Kakashi reached into his pouch and pulled out two small bells. They chimed softly. All right, listen carefully. He held them up. Your task is simple. Take these bells from me before noon. Hinata inhaled softly. Sasuke smirked. That's it. Kakashi's eye curved into a smile. Whoever doesn't get a bell goes back to the academy. Silence fell like a blade. Hinata stiffened. Sasuke's smirk sharpened. Naruto didn't react outwardly. But inside, Kurama grinned. Now that's interesting. Ichiki lifted its head. Naruto says he hopes you're strong enough. Kakashi chuckled. Confidence, huh? Then, he vanished. Start. The first movements. Sasuke moved instantly. A blur of speed as he launched forward, kunai already in hand. Metal clashed. Kakashi blocked effortlessly. Hinata activated her Byakugan. Veins bulged around her eyes as the world shifted into clarity. There. She rushed forward, palms striking with precision aimed at chakra points. Kakashi twisted his body, narrowly avoiding the gentle fist strikes. Nice form. He swept her legs lightly, forcing her to jump back. Sasuke re-engaged immediately, chaining attacks with sharp precision. Kakashi parried, dodged, redirected. Effortless. Controlled. Watching. Always watching. But Naruto. Naruto had not moved. He stood exactly where he had been. Silent. Still. Listening. A different kind of sight. The ground spoke. Tiny vibrations. Subtle shifts in pressure. Air currents brushing against skin. Heartbeat rhythms. Breathing patterns. Naruto perceived it all. Not as images, but as instinct. Kendra's voice whispered softly. This is your domain. Not sight, but awareness. Kakashi appeared behind Naruto. Silent. Precise. Deadly. His hand moved. But Naruto's head tilted slightly. His body shifted just enough. The attack missed. Kakashi froze mid-motion. Interesting. Naruto turned slowly toward him. Blindfold still in place. A low hiss escaped his lips. Then, he disappeared. Predator emerges. Not speed. Not exactly. Something else. Naruto's movement wasn't linear. It was erratic. Unpredictable. Like something slithering through invisible paths. Kakashi barely adjusted in time as Naruto appeared at his side. A hand reached for the bells. Kakashi caught his wrist. But Naruto's other hand was already moving. Simultaneous. Fluid. Kakashi twisted away, breaking contact. You're not fighting like a genin. Naruto didn't respond. Ichiki lifted its head slightly. Naruto says he doesn't fight like prey. Kakashi's eye narrowed. Hey, good answer. Disorder to synchronization. At first, they clashed separately. Sasuke's attacks were sharp, aggressive, direct. Hinata's were precise, calculated, controlled. Naruto's chaotic, yet intentional. But something began to shift. Hinata noticed it first. Left. Sasuke reacted instantly, adjusting his angle. Naruto moved to intercept Kakashi's escape route without needing instruction. Kakashi jumped back, but barely avoided being surrounded. His eye curved. Oh, now that's new. Again. Hinata guided. Sasuke attacked. Naruto adapted. The gaps between them began to close. Not perfectly, but enough. The forbidden glance. Naruto suddenly stopped. Completely. Mid-movement. Kendra's voice echoed. Test your gaze. Naruto slowly raised his hand. The blindfold loosened. Just slightly. Just enough. For a fraction of a second. His eyes were revealed. Kakashi's instinct screamed. Danger. Pure. Unfiltered. He turned his head instantly and shut his eye. Don't look at him. Hinata gasped, deactivating her Byakugan immediately. Sasuke flinched, turning away with a curse. What the hell? The air itself felt heavy. Oppressive. Alive. Naruto quickly lowered the blindfold again. Silence. Ichiki spoke softly. Naruto apologizes. Kakashi landed on a branch, posture now serious. Yeah, we're definitely having a talk about that later. The final push. Time passed. Fatigue began to creep in. Breathing grew heavier. Movements slightly slower. But something had changed. They weren't three individuals anymore. They were a system. Sasuke created pressure. Hinata controlled movement. Naruto predicted. Adapted. Cornered. Kakashi dodged a combined assault. But Naruto had already anticipated the evasion. A shadow clone appeared behind Kakashi. A distraction. Hinata struck forward. Sasuke closed in. Kakashi reacted. But Naruto slipped through the smallest opening. His hand reached. And grabbed. A bell. The sound echoed softly. Everything stopped. Silence and judgment. Kakashi looked at them. Really looked at them. Not as students, but as something unusual. Then, he smiled. You pass. Sasuke blinked. What? Hinata looked surprised. Naruto remained still. Kakashi hopped down from the tree. You figured it out. This wasn't about the bells. He held them up again. It was about teamwork. His gaze lingered on Naruto. And restraint. A pause. You held back. Naruto didn't respond. But inside, Kurama chuckled. Smart kid. Kendra whispered. Control, not suppression. Remember that. A new beginning. Kakashi turned away. Meet here tomorrow. We start real missions soon. He waved lazily. Don't be late. And just like that, he vanished. Silence remained. Sasuke scoffed lightly. That was annoying. Hinata smiled softly. But we passed. Naruto stood there for a moment longer. Then turned slightly toward them. A subtle pause. Then he walked away. Hinata watched him go. Something in her chest tightened. Not fear. Not exactly. Something else. Far from the village. Deep underground. Far beyond Konoha's reach. A massive serpent shifted within the darkness. Golden eyes opened slowly. He grows. Kendra's presence echoed faintly through the cavern. Another voice responded. Ancient. Cold. Not fast enough. The serpent coiled tighter. He will be ready. A pause. Or he will die? Silence returned. Night fell over Konoha like a silent curtain. But Naruto was no longer there. Returned to Ryuchi Cave. The world shifted the moment he stepped beyond the summoning threshold. Darkness. Humidity. The faint echo of dripping water. Ryuchi Cave. A place where the air itself felt alive, watching, judging, waiting. Naruto stood still as the ground beneath him pulsed faintly, as if the cave itself had a heartbeat. Ichiki tightened slightly around his shoulders. We are being watched. Naruto didn't react outwardly. He already knew. From the shadows, massive shapes moved. Serpents. Large. Ancient. Predators. But none of them approached. Because something far greater was here. A deep, resonant voice echoed through the cavern. You've returned. Kendra emerged from the darkness. Larger than before. Her scales shimmered faintly under the dim light, reflecting subtle hues of gold and black. Her eyes locked onto Naruto, unblinking. Assessing. Measuring. Naruto stepped forward without hesitation. No fear. Only instinct. Kendra lowered her head slightly. Good. The second phase begins. Naruto sat cross-legged on the cold stone floor. Kendra circled him slowly. You've learned to move. You've learned to sense. But you haven't learned to kill. Silence. Naruto didn't flinch. Inside him, Kurama's voice rumbled with interest. Now this is getting good. Kendra stopped in front of Naruto. Venom is not just poison. Her eyes narrowed. It is intent. Suddenly, she struck. Fast. Too fast. Naruto barely moved his head in time as her fangs grazed his cheek, drawing a thin line of blood. Ichiki hissed. Too slow. Naruto touched the blood lightly. Examined it. Then looked up again. Calm. Focused. Kendra's eyes glowed faintly. Again. Pain as a teacher. This time, she didn't hold back. Her body blurred through the darkness, striking from multiple angles. Naruto moved. Dodged. Adapted. But not perfectly. A fang pierced his shoulder. Another grazed his arm. A third strike landed. And this time, venom entered his bloodstream. Naruto's body tensed instantly. Pain. Burning. Spreading like fire through his veins. He dropped to one knee. Breathing heavy. Ichiki tightened around him. Poison detected. Kurama growled. Pathetic. Fight it. Naruto clenched his teeth. The pain intensified. Vision blurred. Heartbeat unstable. Kendra watched. Unmoving. Control it. Naruto's fingers dug into the ground. His breathing slowed. Forced. Measured. The venom spread. But something changed. Instead of resisting it, he adapted. Absorbed. Understood. Kendra's eyes sharpened. Yes. The birth of venom. Minutes passed. Or hours. Time lost meaning. Naruto's breathing stabilized. The pain dulled. Then, disappeared. He stood up slowly. Different. Subtle. But undeniable. Kendra moved closer. Now show me. Naruto raised his hand. Paused. Then, a faint, almost invisible mist escaped from his palm. Thin. Controlled. Deadly. Ichiki lifted its head in surprise. Venom output detected. Kurama chuckled. Heh, now that's interesting. Kendra smiled. You learn quickly. Inside the mindscape, Naruto's consciousness shifted inward. The familiar cage. The massive presence behind it. Kurama. The nine-tailed fox watched him closely. So, you're evolving. Naruto stepped closer. No fear. No hesitation. Kurama's eyes narrowed slightly. But let's see if you can handle real power. Red chakra began to leak through the bars. Heavy. Oppressive. Violent. It wrapped around Naruto like a living force. His body tensed. Pain returned. Different from the venom. Wilder. Chaotic. Naruto dropped to one knee. Kurama grinned. Control it. Naruto's breathing became unstable. The chakra tried to overwhelm him. Consume him. Take control. Kendra's voice echoed faintly. Balance instinct with control. Naruto closed his eyes. Focused. Not fighting. Not resisting. Guiding. Slowly. The red chakra stabilized. Not fully controlled. But not wild either. Balanced. Kurama blinked. Then smirked. Not bad, kid. Fusion of instincts. Back in Ryuchi Cave. Naruto opened his eyes. For a split second. They changed. Vertical pupils. Faint red glow around them. Then. Gone. Kendra observed carefully. You're beginning to merge both natures. Ichiki spoke softly. Serpent and beast. Naruto stood silently. But something about him had shifted. He wasn't just adapting anymore. He was evolving. Days of training. Time passed differently in the cave. Days blurred into nights. Training never stopped. Naruto learned how to coat his strikes with venom, how to release toxin through breath, how to suppress killing intent completely, how to amplify it when needed. Kendra pushed him constantly. No rest. No mercy. Every mistake was punished. Every hesitation exploited. And Naruto never complained. Never hesitated. He adapted. Every time. A moment of stillness. One night. For the first time. Kendra did not attack. She simply rested, coiled around a massive stone pillar. Naruto sat nearby. Silent. Ichiki resting loosely. The cave was quiet. Unusually so. Kendra spoke. You're changing faster than expected. Naruto didn't respond. But his attention remained on her. Do you understand what you're becoming? A pause. Ichiki translated softly. Naruto says he doesn't need to understand. Only to survive. Kendra's eyes narrowed slightly. Survival alone creates monsters. Another pause. Control creates kings. Naruto remained silent. But those words stayed. Back in Konoha. The next morning. Naruto returned. Training Ground 7. Sasuke arrived first. Then Hinata. Then Naruto. Hinata noticed immediately. Something was different. Not visible. Not obvious. But present. Naruto-kun? Naruto tilted his head slightly. Ichiki flicked its tongue. He says, good morning. Hinata smiled softly. A faint blush on her cheeks. Sasuke frowned. You feel different. Naruto didn't answer. But Sasuke's instincts sharpened. TCH. Kakashi's observation. Kakashi appeared as usual. Late. Casual. But the moment his eye landed on Naruto, he paused. Just slightly. Something had changed. Interesting. He said nothing more. But he understood one thing clearly. Naruto was getting stronger. Fast. And not in a normal way. The first real mission approaches. Kakashi clapped his hands lightly. All right, Team 7. Your first real mission is coming up. Hinata straightened. Sasuke smirked. Naruto remained still. Kakashi's eye curved. Let's see what you've learned. But deep down, he was already thinking. What exactly are you becoming, Naruto? Far in the shadows. Deep underground. Beyond even Ryuchi Cave. Something stirred. A presence older than most shinobi could comprehend. The child. A low voice echoed. Cold. Ancient. He carries two predators within him. A pause. Good. Darkness shifted. Watching. Waiting. Let him grow. The gates of Konoha loomed behind them. Tall. Silent. Watching. Team 7 stepped beyond them as an official unit for the first time. No longer students. Not yet true shinobi. Something in between. Naruto walked slightly ahead of the group. Not out of leadership. Not out of arrogance. Instinct. Hinata walked a few steps behind him, her hands lightly clasped together. Her gaze shifted constantly, alert, cautious, but whenever it landed on Naruto, it softened. Sasuke walked behind them, hands in his pockets, eyes sharp and observant. And Kakashi walked lazily behind, flipping a page in his orange book as if none of this mattered. "This is boring." Sasuke's voice cut through the quiet. Kakashi didn't even look up. "Then make it interesting." Sasuke clicked his tongue. "We're escorting a drunk old man." Tsunade frowned. "Hey, I can hear you, brat." Naruto said nothing. But something had already changed. The shift in the air. The road stretched ahead, surrounded by trees. Too quiet. Too clean. Naruto stopped. Abruptly. Hinata nearly bumped into him. "Naruto-kun?" Ichiki raised its head. Its tongue flicked once. Then again. Movement detected. Kakashi closed his book slowly. "Good." Sasuke smirked. Finally. The air grew heavier. Thicker. And then. They struck. The Demon Brothers. Two figures burst from the ground. Chains whistled through the air, metal glinting, blades attached. Fast. Too fast for a normal genin. They wrapped around Kakashi. And pulled. Blood exploded outward. Kakashi's body tore apart. Hinata froze. "Kakashi-sensei?" Her voice barely came out. Sasuke's eyes widened. "What the?" But Naruto was already moving. Predator instinct. Before the attackers could reposition, Naruto was there. No sound. No warning. Just presence. One of the shinobi turned. Too late. Naruto's hand closed around his arm. Firm. Unbreakable. The man struggled. But something was wrong. His body refused to respond. For a brief moment, Naruto's eyes changed. Slitted pupils. Cold. Ancient. Naruto leaned slightly closer. And exhaled. A thin, nearly invisible mist left his lips. The man inhaled it. Once. Twice. Then. His body went limp. Collapsed. Dead. Stillness. Silence crushed the space around them. The second attacker froze. Sasuke didn't move. Hinata couldn't breathe. Naruto released the body slowly. It hit the ground without resistance. Like something already empty. Ichiki spoke calmly. "Target eliminated." The second attacker took a step back. What are you?" Before he could react, Kakashi appeared behind him. Alive. Unharmed. A single precise strike. The attacker dropped unconscious. The truth revealed. Kakashi looked at the fallen bodies. Then at Naruto. Longer than necessary. That was fast. No one spoke. Sasuke's voice came out low. "You killed him." Naruto didn't deny it. Hinata looked down, shaken. He was already defeated. Naruto tilted his head slightly. Then spoke. He was still a threat. His voice was quiet. Rougher than before. Different. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. "That's not how this works." Naruto looked at him. Directly. And for a moment, Sasuke felt it. That same thing. Cold. Heavy. Like standing in front of something that didn't hesitate. Naruto answered simply. "If you hesitate, you die." Silence followed. Kakashi intervenes. "Enough." Kakashi's tone changed. Not lazy anymore. Serious. He turned toward Tsunade. "You lied to us." Tsunade looked away. Sweating. "I had no choice." Kakashi sighed. "This is no longer a C-rank mission." Naruto had already turned away. Walking forward again. As if nothing had happened. Fractures in the team. They resumed moving. But the atmosphere was different. Sasuke kept glancing at Naruto. Measuring. Comparing. TCH. Hinata watched him too. But her expression wasn't fear. It was conflict. Confusion. Something deeper. Kakashi was thinking too much. Inside the mind. Darkness. Water. The familiar space within Naruto's mind. Kurama's massive eyes opened. Hey, that was clean. Naruto stood in front of the cage. Silent. Kendra's presence coiled through the shadows. You killed without hesitation. Naruto replied calmly. It was necessary. Kendra watched him. Yes. A pause. But necessity can become habit. Kurama scoffed. And what's wrong with that? Kendra's voice turned colder. Uncontrolled instinct creates beasts. Another pause. Controlled instinct creates kings. Naruto said nothing. But he listened. The mist approaches. Hours later. The air changed again. Moisture. Cold. A thick mist began to form. Kakashi stopped walking. Formation. Hinata activated her Byakugan instantly. There's someone ahead. Sasuke shifted his stance. Naruto stepped forward. A faint smile touched his lips. Ichiki whispered. Another predator. Killing intent. Then it came. Heavy. Crushing. Like invisible weight pressing down on their bodies. Hinata trembled. Sasuke clenched his fists. Even Kakashi's posture sharpened. A figure appeared on the water. Massive sword resting on his shoulder. Bandages. Killing intent made flesh. Well, this is interesting. Zabuza Momochi. The demon of the mist. Recognition. Zabuza's gaze moved across the group. Dismissive. Until it landed on Naruto. He paused. Just slightly. You. Naruto stood still. Blindfold in place. But the presence couldn't be hidden. Zabuza smiled slowly. What are you? Naruto didn't answer. But something shifted. His killing intent surfaced. Not explosive. Not wild. Subtle. Precise. Like venom entering blood. Zabuza felt it. And his grin widened. Heh. I like you. The line is drawn. Kakashi stepped forward. Don't move any closer. Zabuza ignored him completely. His eyes remained on Naruto. That one. He pointed slightly. I want him. Sasuke frowned. Hinata stepped back. Kakashi's voice hardened. You'll have to go through me first. Zabuza laughed. Good. I was hoping for that. The beginning of the storm. The air tightened. Water trembled beneath their feet. Two killers. Two monsters. Facing each other. Kakashi lifted his headband, revealing the Sharingan. Zabuza adjusted his grip on the blade. Naruto watched. Still. Learning. Kendra whispered. Watch carefully. Kurama added. This is the real world. Naruto didn't blink. Didn't move. Didn't speak. But something inside him was ready. The mist thickened. It swallowed the forest, the river, the sky itself. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. Only silhouettes remained. Breathing. Movement. Killing intent. Naruto stood still at the front. His blindfold fluttered slightly with the damp wind. Ichiki lifted its head, tongue flicking rapidly. Vision is compromised, but irrelevant. Naruto didn't respond. He didn't need to. He could feel everything. The first clash. Zabuza moved first. A blur. Water exploded beneath his feet as he vanished into the mist. Careful, he's coming. Kakashi's voice cut through the fog. But it was already too late. Zabuza appeared behind him, sword swinging in a wide arc. Kakashi twisted, barely blocking the strike with a kunai. The impact sent a shock wave through the air. Steel screamed. Water rippled violently. Zabuza grinned. Not bad. Kakashi's Sharingan spun. Same to you. They disappeared again. Hidden mist technique. The fog grew denser. Heavier. Zabuza's voice echoed from everywhere. This is my domain. Killing intent flooded the area again. Hinata gasped. I can't see clearly. Even her Byakugan struggled through the dense chakra-infused mist. Sasuke clenched his teeth. TCH, where is he? Naruto remained still, listening, feeling the water, the vibrations, the breath. Kendra whispered. He thinks this is his hunting ground. A pause. Show him it isn't. Silent killing. Zabuza's voice echoed again. Cold. Calculated. There are 8 ways to kill someone without a sound. His presence flickered, appearing behind, then gone again. Neck. A shift. Spine. Another. Lungs. Hinata trembled. Sasuke's eyes darted around. Kakashi narrowed his gaze. But Naruto stepped forward. The serpent moves. Naruto, wait. Kakashi's warning came too late. Naruto walked into the mist. Alone. Zabuza paused. For the first time, curiosity overtook control. You're walking straight into death, kid. Naruto tilted his head slightly. Ichiki spoke softly. He says, you're the one being hunted. Silence. Then, Zabuza laughed. Good. Predator versus demon. Zabuza attacked. No warning. No sound. The blade cut through where Naruto's neck should have been, but missed. Naruto had already moved. Low. Fluid. Unnatural. Zabuza's eyes sharpened. What? Naruto appeared at his side. Hand reaching. Zabuza twisted away instantly. Fast. Experienced. You're not normal. Naruto didn't answer. He exhaled. A thin mist spread outward. Zabuza jumped back immediately. Instinct. Poison. His grin widened. Now this is interesting. Pressure builds. Kakashi joined in. Now it was 2 against 1. Zabuza adapted quickly. Sword sweeping in wide arcs. Forcing distance. Naruto slipped through openings. Kakashi attacked directly. Perfect synchronization. But unspoken. Sasuke watched from a distance. His fists clenched. Why can't I keep up? Hinata's eyes followed Naruto. He's different. The water prison. Zabuza suddenly changed tactics. He formed seals rapidly. Water style, water prison jutsu. Water surged upward, trapping Kakashi inside a sphere. Suspended. Immobile. Zabuza created a water clone instantly. Now things get easier. The clone rushed toward Naruto and the others. Naruto stood his ground. Calm. Focused. Team 7 breaks. Sasuke. Hinata called. They moved together. But not enough. The clone overwhelmed them instantly. Raw power difference. Sasuke was thrown back. Hinata barely blocked. Naruto stepped forward. Alone. Again. Venom in combat. The clone attacked. Naruto dodged. Then countered. His hand struck the clone's arm. Venom infused. The water clone destabilized instantly. What? It collapsed into liquid. Zabuza's real body reacted. That shouldn't work. Naruto didn't stop. He moved again. Closing distance. The breaking point. Zabuza tightened the water prison around Kakashi. Stay back, or he dies. Naruto stopped. For a moment, everything froze. Hinata whispered. Naruto-kun. Sasuke stood up slowly. Bleeding. Frustrated. Damn it. Inside Naruto. Kurama stirred. You're hesitating. Kendra's voice followed. Think. Not react. Naruto's breathing slowed. Then, he moved. The plan. A shadow clone appeared. Then another. Naruto's clones rushed forward recklessly. Zabuza smirked. Pointless. He cut them down instantly. But it was a distraction. Sasuke moved. Fast. Grabbing a massive shuriken. Now, Naruto threw another. Hidden within the first. Classic tactic. Zabuza dodged the first. But the second transformed midair. Naruto. He reached forward, grabbing Zabuza's arm. Just for a second. Just enough. Venom transferred. Zabuza's grip faltered. The water prison destabilized and shattered. Kakashi returns. Kakashi dropped to the ground. Free. Breathing heavily, but smiling. Nice teamwork. Zabuza stepped back. His arm slightly numb. TCH, poison that fast. His eyes locked onto Naruto again. You're dangerous. Naruto said nothing. But this time, his killing intent answered. The true battle begins. Kakashi stepped forward. Sharingan spinning. Round 2. Zabuza grinned. Now it's getting fun. The mist swirled violently. The water trembled. Naruto stepped back. Watching. Learning. Waiting. Kendra whispered. You've tasted real combat. Kurama grinned. And you're just getting started. A presence in the shadows. Far away. On a branch. A masked figure watched. Silent. Still. Haku. Zabuza-sama. His gaze shifted toward Naruto. That boy. A pause. He's not normal. Ending tension. Back on the battlefield. Kakashi and Zabuza clashed again. Faster. Deadlier. Unrelenting. Team 7 stood behind. Breathing hard. Shaken. Changed. And Naruto remained calm. But inside, something was growing. Something dangerous. Something inevitable. The battlefield trembled. Water surged violently beneath their feet as Kakashi and Zabuza clashed again and again, their movements blurring into something almost impossible to follow. Steel collided. Water exploded. Killing intent filled every inch of the mist. Naruto stood behind them. Still. Watching. Learning. The copying begins. Zabuza formed seals rapidly. Water style, great waterfall jutsu. A massive surge of water rose behind him, towering like a living wave ready to crush everything in its path. But Kakashi didn't move. Didn't react. His Sharingan spun and mirrored every movement. Water style, great waterfall jutsu. Zabuza's eyes widened. What? Two identical jutsu collided. Water crashed violently, canceling each other out in an explosion that shook the entire area. Kakashi stepped forward. You can't win this. Zabuza gritted his teeth. Don't underestimate me. He formed seals again. Faster. More desperate. But Kakashi was already ahead. Water style, water dragon jutsu. A massive dragon surged forward. Zabuza froze. No, that's impact. The dragon slammed into him, sending his body crashing into the water with brutal force. The end? Silence followed. The mist began to settle. Zabuza lay motionless. Defeated. Kakashi exhaled slowly. It's over. Hinata lowered her guard. Sasuke relaxed slightly. Tsunade collapsed in relief. But Naruto. Naruto stepped forward. Slowly. Carefully. Ichiki lifted its head. Something is wrong. Naruto tilted his head slightly. Listening. Feeling. There. A heartbeat. Faint. But not Zabuza's. A new presence. A soft sound cut through the silence. Footsteps. Light. Precise. A figure appeared through the thinning mist. Slender. Wearing a mask. Holding Senbon needles. Thank you for your help. His voice was calm. Gentle. Almost kind. Everyone turned. Kakashi narrowed his eye. Hunter Nin? The masked figure nodded. Yes, I've been tracking him for quite some time. He walked toward Zabuza's body. Calm. Controlled. Naruto watched him. Closely. Too closely. Kendra's voice whispered. That one. Kurama growled softly. He's not normal either. The needles fly. Without warning. The masked figure flicked his wrist. Senbon needles shot forward. Precise. Deadly. They struck Zabuza's neck. Perfect placement. Zabuza's body twitched. Then went completely still. The masked figure knelt beside him. It's done. He lifted the body effortlessly. Kakashi relaxed slightly. Thanks. That saved us some trouble. But Naruto took a step forward. The instinct. Hinata noticed. Naruto-kun? Naruto didn't answer. His head tilted slightly. Listening again. That heartbeat. Still there. Weak. But alive. Ichiki spoke quietly. Target, not dead. Naruto's fingers twitched. Kendra whispered. He deceives. Kurama smirked. So do something about it. The interruption. Naruto moved. Fast. Too fast. He appeared in front of the masked figure instantly, blocking his path. The air shifted. Everyone froze. Kakashi's voice turned sharp. Naruto. The masked figure stopped. Calm. Unshaken. Is there a problem? Naruto said nothing. But his presence changed. Subtle. Dangerous. He stepped closer. Ichiki translated. Naruto says, you're lying. Silence. Tension rising. Kakashi stepped forward. Naruto, stand down. But Naruto didn't move. Didn't listen. His instincts were screaming. That heartbeat. That deception. The masked figure tilted his head slightly. You're quite perceptive. A pause. But you're mistaken. Naruto's eyes shifted beneath the blindfold. For a split second, they almost showed. Killing intent leaked out. Thin. Precise. Like venom. The masked figure felt it. And for the first time, he hesitated. Haku's awareness. Inside the mask. Haku's eyes sharpened. This boy. He can tell. His grip on Zabuza tightened slightly. But outwardly, he remained calm. If you don't mind, I'll be taking the body. Naruto took another step forward. Closing distance. Too close. Kakashi's instincts flared. Naruto, stop. The edge of control. Inside Naruto. Something stirred. Kurama's chakra flickered. Red. Violent. Hungry. He's lying. Kill him. Kendra's voice cut through. Control. Naruto's breathing slowed. But barely. The pressure inside him grew. Unstable. For the first time, he was close to losing control. Hinata stepped forward slightly. Naruto-kun, please. Her voice. Soft. Gentle. Real. It reached him. Just enough. The decision. Naruto stopped. His body relaxed. Slightly. The killing intent faded. Not gone, but suppressed. Ichiki spoke. Naruto allows it. The masked figure nodded once. Thank you. He stepped past Naruto. Carefully. Respectfully. Then, he disappeared into the mist. Gone. Aftermath. Silence returned. But not the same silence as before. This one was heavier. Uncertain. Kakashi looked at Naruto. Long. Serious. Explain. Naruto didn't respond immediately. Then, he was alive. Simple. Direct. Kakashi's eye narrowed. You're sure? Naruto nodded once. Hinata looked surprised. Sasuke frowned. Then why didn't you stop him? Naruto paused. Then answered. Not necessary. Kurama chuckled. Or maybe not yet. Kakashi's doubt. Kakashi looked toward the direction the masked figure disappeared. Thinking. Calculating. Then back at Naruto. He knew. And he almost acted on it. For the first time, Kakashi felt something unexpected. Concern. A quiet warning. Later, as they walked again, Kakashi spoke quietly. Only for Naruto. You were about to lose control. Naruto didn't deny it. Kakashi continued. Power without control is dangerous. A pause. Not just for enemies. Naruto stopped walking for a moment. Then, control is improving. Kakashi studied him. It better be. Far away. Deep in the forest. Haku stopped. Gently placing Zabuza down. He removed his mask. Beautiful. Calm. But his eyes were serious. Zabuza-sama, he knew. Zabuza's eyes opened slowly. Hey, yeah? A grin formed. That kid. He's not normal. Haku nodded. He almost attacked. Zabuza laughed softly. Good. That means next time. His grip tightened on his sword. It'll be fun. Something awakens. Back with Team 7. Naruto walked in silence. But inside, Kurama smiled. You hesitated. Kendra responded. He chose. Kurama's grin widened. Next time. He won't. Naruto said nothing. But deep inside, something was changing. Growing. Waiting.